allegedly we're up on YouTube. That's the scuttlebutt.
It's not scuttlebutt.
It's confirmed.
It's confirmed.
It's confirmed. Okay, we are live over on YouTube here on the Matt Rooney Show. 1210 WPHT's YouTube page, which has a mighty following. You head over to youtube.com/@1210WPHT, and you can see me on there with tonight's Fun Guy shirt, a delightfully festive floral pattern. It's pink, and it's got some lemons on it.
I was going to say, lemons are, some of them are a little lopsided. I think they threw me off. Maybe I thought they were pears.
No, they're lemons.
That's cool.
They're lemons, which I think if I was a fruit, I would be a lemon because I'm refreshing, but I can also be a little bit sour. I have cleansing properties.
Sure.
To wipe the dirt away, make things clear.
Yeah.
But yeah, too much of a good thing never.
But
never
if you get in somebody's eye, it's going to burn a lot.
It's going to burn.
It's going to burn significantly.
Absolutely. True words were never spoken. 855-839-1210 is the number here on the Matt Rooney Show. The Veep Stakes, against the backdrop of all this craziness, is underway. We're going to get an announcement from Kumala on Tuesday here in the city of brotherly love. We're going to find out who she's chosen. And the betting odds suggest that it's going to be Josh Shapiro, the governor of this great state. Although he is not a great governor, that doesn't make the state of Pennsylvania any less wonderful. It's like my home state in New Jersey. Sometimes you're very poor judges of character. Let's face it. Some of the best people we know in our lives are, and we love them anyway. But I don't think you can necessarily assume it's going to be Josh Shapiro because Josh Shapiro has his drawbacks in a Democrat primary. I'll give you the biggies from the top here. He's Jewish, and the Democrat coalition is full of anti-Semites that have no problem with Jews being killed by Hamas. I'm sorry if that made some of you fall out of your chairs, but it's true. Tell me where the lie is. I remember back in, I want to say it was 2012. I was on summer vacation during the Republican National Convention, the one that nominated Mitt Romney. That was the convention, you may recall, where Clint Eastwood did that weird routine with the chair that you'd love to forget. You don't remember this?
I was in high school back then. I wasn't as big into following these kind of things.
You didn't miss much with the whole campaign or
Sounds
the convention.
Like it.
Everyone was excited Clint Eastwood was going because no celebrities are Republicans, right?
Nope.
And he does this thing. I think it sounded great in Clint's head where he interviewed a empty chair that was supposed to be Barack. And exactly.
His movies are good.
His movies are great. I love his movies, right?
Yeah.
But that did not work out too well. But I remember the 2012 Democrat convention. They booed Israel. They booed God. The Democrat party has been moving in a soulless, scary direction for some time now. It's not a recent development. So this rampant anti-Semitism we now see on the news, and we may very well see more of in Chicago, complicates Josh Shapiro's potential candidacy as a vice president for Kumala. On top of that, there's a new story out there in the ether, and I tried to find it tonight before I came on. See, I went away for the weekend, if you missed the first segment, to New Hampshire, and I blissfully detached for like 2.5 days, and it was glorious, much healthier for it. But I saw it before I left, and I made a mental note. I need to flag this for the Sunday show, and now I can't find the darn thing. But apparently Shapiro wrote something when he was in college about 30 years ago about the Palestinian people not being capable of having their own state. So, yeah, exactly, Andrew. So it's going to be rough going for him if he's in a Democrat primary, again, because of how much Democrats hate the Jews. So could it be someone else? Could it be a misdirection that we're here in Pennsylvania, or should it just we assume that the reason they're here is because Pennsylvania is the ultimate battleground state, has nothing to do with who the current executive of the state is? Could it be Andy Beshear from out of Kentucky? Young, dynamic, a little bit of a firebrand. Problem is he doesn't bring anything with him. Kamala Harris is not going to win Kentucky. We can call that one right now. We don't have to wait till 8:30 on election night. Or could it be the dwarf from out in Arizona? Mark Kelly, the astronaut. Some think he would be a great pick because it helps maybe kind of sort of Kamala break back in to the Sun Belt. He's an astronaut. Astronauts are cool. Who didn't at least once in their childhood want to be an astronaut? I mean, I did for 5 seconds.
I never really gave it that much thought.
Never wanted to go to space?
If the technology and stuff in Star Trek was real, then yes, I would love to go to space, live on the Enterprise, all that good stuff. But I was never really interested in becoming an astronaut or anything. Firefighter, yeah. I went through the firefighter phase and all that stuff.
See that I don't get. I mean,
Big Frank's Fire Truck was my favorite book as a kid.
All the respect in the world for firefighters. I mean, running into a burning building versus going to a rocket into space. You know, I mean, come on.
I understand what you're saying.
I understand the romanticism with the heroism of it. That's fine.
Yeah.
Look, I guess, you do you, my friend.
Yeah, I mean, well, I'm obviously not a firefighter now, so.
You're not?
No.
Well, you put out plenty of fires on this program.
I try.
You try. You endeavor to.
Yeah.
So Kelly's on the short list. You're thinking that he's a possibility. Problem is, I don't know if Kamala Harris can break back into the Sun Belt this time around. The polling in these states, even post-entry, are pretty strongly in Donald Trump's favor. It seems as if once again we're going to be fighting over the Rust Belt and potentially waiting until 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning to figure out who won states like Pennsylvania, Michigan, and Wisconsin. So it seems like it makes more sense to go with somebody that could appeal to that part of the world. We don't know. We don't know who she's going to pick. But everyone is continuing to read the tea leaves, and I think Democrats may be trying to throw the media off the scent. Mark Kelly tonight tweeting, whether it was from my time in the Navy and at NASA, serving in the United States Senate, or visiting our troops overseas, I've learned that when your country asks you to serve, you always answer the call. Certainly sounds like something someone would tweet if they thought that they were about to receive the vice presidential nomination. And then there was a C-SPAN correspondent earlier this evening. Let's pull this bad boy up, tweeting a first-person witness who saw a van with Kentucky plates pulling into the vice presidential residence down in Washington, D.C. Could it be a complete coincidence? Presidents and vice presidents get plenty of visits from plenty of people, and not all of them are foreign oligarchs trying to curry favor, right? It could very well just be some high-ranking official in D.C. that happens to have Kentucky plates, or it could be a rental car that could have absolutely nothing to do with who is ultimately going to get the nomination. We don't know, and there's plenty of evidence that vice presidential picks don't usually matter. I think the problem for Donald Trump, back to the CBS poll we discussed in the first few minutes of tonight's show, August now looks like it is going to be one gigantic media facilitated Kamala Harris commercial. She's going to have a week of the media starting tonight and tomorrow with the speculation, and then Tuesday, spoiler alert, they're going to tell you whoever she picks is the greatest possible pick that anybody could have ever picked in the history of vice presidential picks, because they're fully in the bag for her. So it's whether it be Mark Kelly, that gnome out there in the desert, or whether it's Josh Shapiro, right? Or whether it's Bashir.
If she chose Bernie Sanders, they would say it's the greatest pick in the history of picks.
Absolutely. Absolutely. She could dig up a corpse, right? Put an American flag pin on it, and the media would tell us, look at this vibrant, fresh, unconventional selection that Kamala Harris has made. What a wonderful vice president she is going to make. And Democrats dig up corpses anyway heading into an election, mostly in my state of New Jersey. Usually they're just voting, though. They're not actually serving on the ticket.
I've noticed that.
And then Kamala's going to have her convention. And it's going to be the greatest convention in the history of conventions, regardless of whether it's a good convention. They're in the bag. They're in the bag. So the fact that she is now fighting things to a draw is not ideal. It's not ideal. The question is, what does the Trump team do about it? Well, they gotta focus. They gotta focus. Although I will tell you, there's been so much scuttlebutt about these remarks that he made at that panel, and I don't need to replay his remarks at the panel because you've heard about almost nothing else in the aftermath of Donald Trump having that encounter with an ABC reporter and questioning Kamala Harris's ethnicity. He wasn't really questioning her ethnicity, was he? He was drilling down on the fact that Kamala Harris is whatever Kamala Harris needs to be for whichever audience she's speaking to. She's not the first in politics to behave that way. Do you remember Hillary Clinton would go down south in 2016, and back in 2008, she'd have a fake Southern accent? We just heard Kamala do something very similar, right? So she's whoever she needs to be. And it doesn't stop just when we're considering her own background. It also continues into the policy spectrum. She used to believe one thing on fracking. Now we're told that she believes another thing on fracking. Her position on immigration is evolving. Whether or not she was even border czar is now something that is changing. They are scrubbing the internet to improve her record. There are very few things that she believed 6 months ago, 6 years ago, 6 minutes ago that are now not going to be cast in a new light. So that's really what Donald Trump was doing, again, inartfully, because Donald, God love him, he doesn't always put the proper spin on the baseball, right? What he should have said is something along the lines of, aren't you sick of these craven politicians, these manipulative politicians that pretend to be whatever they need to be in the moment? I'm just me. I'm real, right? You don't have to guess where Donald Trump stands. You don't have to wonder how I'm going to present on any given day. I don't play the game that leftists like Kamala Harris play. I'm just me. And I'm constantly out there fighting for you, to put you first and to put our country first. It's the easy way to put it. But now we've had this entire week where we've been debating, is she black, is she not black? When, let's face it, I would still hope to think a majority of Americans don't care. I don't care what Kamala Harris's color is. I don't care where she comes from. I don't care if she is the bastard daughter of an Estonian prince that was an iron worker that emigrated to this country in one of Elon Musk's rocket ships. I don't care. It does not matter to me. What matters to me is whether or not someone's policies are good for me, my friends, my family, my country. That's it. That's all that should matter. But that's not the discussion that we're presently having. Byron Daniels, did you see him this morning on the morning shows?
I heard.
Yeah, they sent him out there, and I don't really know how well it went. He did make one particularly good point, though, debating George Stephanopoulos over there on ABC. And lest we not forget, right, George Stephanopoulos is a Democrat operative. He was a Clintonista, still is a Clintonista. So the idea that this guy is quarterbacking one of the Sunday morning programs and pretending to be an honest broker is positively ridiculous. But now, because of the situation in which we've placed ourselves, Byron Daniels had to go out there, a congressman from Florida, to defend Donald Trump's comments made to this panel. And he did put Stephanopoulos in his place. Here's a clip of this exchange. If you missed it, here it is. Do we have that ready? Boom.
I'm not the one who keeps repeating it. George, you're the one that's bringing it up now. That's
you've done it.
I understand why
sir,
you've
done it.
Up.
You've done it 3 times. Every single answer you gave me. Now let me finish, sir.
George,
every single answer you gave, you repeated the slur.
Asked me, George. That's why I'm pushing back on you now. George, you asked me the question 3 times. I responded, but I'm.
And every single time you repeat the slur. That is exactly my point. You simply can't say that it's wrong.
George, so then what you're saying, and I want to get off this topic because it's not the only thing that's going on. But George, now you're saying that AP is the one that slurred Kamala Harris, because those are the facts. You can go to the internet and look at the clips, George, if you want to, or we can talk about this now. I prefer to talk about the future of our country because the American people are struggling. The American people do need serious policy decisions to be made, and they need serious leadership on the world stage. Kamala Harris has not proven that she can do that. Donald J. Trump has proven that he can do that.
AP did not say that Kamala Harris is not black. She is biracial. She is Indian. She is black.
So there you go. This is what we're going to be dealing with now for, well, until at least Tuesday. right? Because then they're going to have something new to talk about.
Mm-hmm.
I'll tell you what I prefer to be talking about. I prefer to be talking about the fact that Hezbollah is now officially in a hot war with Israel, so the world is at war. I'd prefer to be talking about the fact that it looks like we are now slipping into a recession, and it could be a bad one. I prefer to be talking about the fact that there is a war on women out there, but not the one that you've been told is being waged by Republicans. I'm talking about the one that's trying to steal women's opportunities away from them by trans men, right, participating in the Olympics, punching women out. And I've got another story on that tonight if we get time. If we get time, we'll get to that in the stack. I mean, the American people are on the ropes. Here's an ad that I think Donald Trump should produce. And, I mean, what do I know, right? Remember during the Republican convention, they had those real people that would get up and give testimonials. And it was a very powerful, popular part of the convention. They had someone that couldn't afford to buy a house. They had someone whose child was a victim of the fentanyl epidemic. Fentanyl that's streaming across their border, right? They had the family of a victim of an illegal immigrant that commits murder and rape, right? I would give a 30-second testimonial from each of those folks juxtaposed with Kamala Harris laughing. Just have her laughing and play 30 seconds of the testimonial. That's what the Republican message should be each and every second and minute and moment of every single day between now and the first Tuesday in November. That's all we should be talking about because it's all that matters. That's what people should be voting on. That's an election that we can win. Is she a fraud? Absolutely. 100%. But unfortunately, this election is going to turn over a small number of squishes in the center, right? We have to reach some of these people, and we're going to reach them by pointing out the fact that she's an idiot, and her boss, Joe Biden, is an idiot, and every single thing they've tried has failed spectacularly. Discipline. Message discipline matters. I don't agree with Karl Rove all the time, but he had a great piece, Andrew, in the Wall Street Journal last week, pointing out that the presidential race has now become a sprint. There's not a lot of time. I said this earlier in the program. So every day needs to be a hyper-disciplined message on why Kamala Harris is so bad for this country. And that's kind of sort of what the Trump campaign was doing, by the way, at the time of the first debate. They were hyper-focused. People were amazed at how on message that campaign and its principal, Mr. Trump, were day in and day out, and it was making a difference. This election was opening up. As I said, we were on the verge of having a victory for a presidential nominee that we haven't seen since at least 2008, maybe earlier in terms of margin. I still think it can happen, but it needs to happen immediately. There's no time. There's no time at all. We have to get back on track here. Another couple of weeks with this being the discussion, that's a loser for us. There are too many people that are pre-programmed to only care about the superficialities of our existence. We can't fight them on a ground of their choosing. This is what they want to discuss. We have to discuss what we know the American people really care about. And if we do, then we're going to win. 855-839-1210 is the number. Matt Rooney on The Matt Rooney Show. Quick break. Back with more in a second. Don't move a muscle.
Pastor Brad Lacey here, First Baptist Church, Conshohocken. Join us Saturdays for the great message and be blessed. 5 a.m. right here on Talk Radio 1210 WPHT.
With the incredibly spacious 3-row Chevy Traverse, you can change
Let's just meet at the concert.
into
Why don't I pick all you guys up on the way?
the advanced safety engineered Chevy Blazer EV lets you turn
You think we should turn back?
into,
Full steam ahead.
and with the affordable Equinox EV
Keep an eye out for the next Charger, kids.
becomes,
Get comfortable, kids. We'll be home in 4 hours.
for summer adventures, Chevy's got you. Chevrolet, together let's drive.
When the sun goes down, we turn the lights up. Fridays at the Bank continue on August 16th at 6:40 when the Phils face the Nats. Join the party and secure your seats at Phillies.com. Beat the heat on Thursday, August 15th at 6:40 when the Phils host the Nats, and fans 21 and over take home a Miller Lite floppy hat. Order tickets now at Phillies.com.
Well, here we are again, and this is looking like a pretty lopsided matchup, Jim.
That's right, Ron. I mean, in one corner, we've got a 175-pound guy, and in the other, a 6,000-ton heavyweight train?
Jim, this guy has no idea what he's getting himself into.
Ron, the size difference alone is staggering.
Oh, unbelievable, Jim. And this guy is acting like he doesn't have a care in the world.
What is this guy thinking, Ron?
Well, this is one of those rare moments where I actually find myself at a loss for words.
I can hardly bear to watch.
It's no contest. Every day, people tempt fate and die trespassing on railroad tracks. Railroad tracks are more dangerous than you think. See tracks, think train. For more safety tips and information, visit ctracksthinktrain.org.
Oh, the book lover's heart. It's too healthy for words.
And the nature lover's heart, it flies high with the birds.
See the art lover's heart, throbbing vibrant with color.
And the food lover's heart, it's as sweet as a cruller.
Hear the music lover's heart, how it's always in tune.
And the night lover's heart shines as bright as the moon.
But the heart of someone with pulmonary hypertension, PH for short, labors. PH puts unbearable stress on the heart, which can cause death from heart failure. And it's often misdiagnosed as asthma. But with early, accurate diagnosis, new treatments are helping people with PH live longer and better. The Pulmonary Hypertension Association gives hope to PH patients and caregivers. We want people to have
a heart that is strong for a life rich and long.
We're putting our heart into finding a cure. Learn more at phassociation.org. That's phassociation.org.
Prescriptions require an online consultation with a healthcare provider who will determine if appropriate. Restrictions apply. See website for details and important safety information. Subscription required. Price varies based on product and subscription plan.
Hey guys, did you know there's a generic form of Viagra that works just the same but is 95% cheaper? And you can get it online at hims.com/joy. Through Hims, you'll get a free medical consultation to determine the ED medication that's best for you. Discreet shipping if prescribed, a 100% online process, and a range of treatment options, including trusted generic alternatives to the name brands, at up to 95% off. ED is personal, and at Hims, so is treating it. Just go to hims.com/joy and get connected to a licensed medical provider online for free, with zero copay, no expensive appointments, and no awkward face-to-face conversations. To start your free online visit, you need to go to this exclusive address, hims.com/joy. That's hims.com/joy for your free online visit. hims.com/joy.
Hey, Percy, we know your favorite station is Talk Radio 1210 WPHT. Remember to take us anywhere with the free Odyssey app.
I knew a few people were going to misunderstand what I was trying to say. I've gotten a couple messages over on X. By the way, my handle is Matt Rooney NJ over at the platform that Elon Musk saved. Matt, why are you criticizing the president's comments made at that panel? He was absolutely correct. We need more people defending him, not criticizing. I'm not saying he was substantively incorrect. I said that when I began my little rant. I had no problem with what he said. Actually, you could argue, and I said this to a few friends at the time who were freaking out because they knew what the media would do with it. I said this could actually help him, particularly since he is working to win over black votes, and in particular, black male votes. What I don't understand, and I thought I was clear about this, I don't understand spending a week on this when there's so much else that needs to be discussed and we know has already been working, campaigning against the Harris-Biden administration. But look, I'll drill down on that for just a second here. If you need proof that I genuinely do believe that not only is Trump right about what he said, but there might be some utility in it. This is CNN. It's the Michael Smerconic program, an alumnus of this station. even though his ideology has changed quite a bit over the years since he was originally on 1210 WPHT. Michael played some audio of an interview with a CNN correspondent and some black American men at a barbershop to see what they thought about Kamala Harris and her ethnicity. If you are a white mainline liberal, like Michael Smerconic, God love him, you might be surprised by what they had to say. Listen up.
Is Kamala going to make you a little more likely or less likely to vote Democrat?
Well, hold on, first, Ray, hold on, Ray. Is Kamala black, yes or no?
I'm going to let her speak on that. But to me, no.
Oh. Is Kamala black, yes or no?
I share that same view.
Wow. Is Kamala black, yes or no?
I heard she was. I heard she's half black and half Asian.
When I played that audio on my SiriusXM radio program on Thursday, many callers who self-identified as African American were quick to tell me that those men were the exception, not the rule. Some described them as low-information voters, no different than you'd find among whites.
So you've got Michael Smerconic, a white guy, saying that, oh, yeah, no, these black guys are just stupid. That's what he just said, right? I'm not really putting words in his mouth at all. I'm just cutting through the nonsense, right? I mean, that's what he just said, and that's the opinion of his employer, CNN. I'll tell you what I heard there. I hear black American men who have been lied to by the Democrat Party, just like their parents and their grandparents and their great-grandparents were lied to by the Democrat Party for generations now. And they see yet another liberal, yet another leftist, who the left wants to sell to them as a savior of black America, and they're skeptical. They're not buying it. It's deeper than ethnicity. It's an issue of credibility. It's an issue of credibility. And there's evidence that lots of black Americans, particularly black male Americans, are waking up to the joke. This CBS poll, because let's go back up to 30,000 feet here for a second. Everybody's freaking out about the CBS poll, and I think Trump and his supporters should take it very seriously. I think I've communicated that clearly this hour. Andrew, tell me if I'm incorrect. She's still in trouble, because if she only wins by 1% nationally, that's California. Trump probably still wins the Electoral College. And if he does, if you look a little deeper in that CBS poll, she's still not running that well among black voters relative to how Democrats do historically. I don't know, and I got to dig a little deeper into the CBS poll. I didn't have time when I was driving back down the Merritt from New Hampshire today. I'd be willing to bet you that lag is primarily among black men. They don't trust her. They shouldn't trust her. Doesn't matter what color she is. She's a liar. Liars come in all shapes and sizes and colors, Andrew. And Kamala Harris is one of them. And she's underperforming. And she's been underwater with them for some time now. She's improved a little bit if you believe some of these surveys. In CBS's poll, back in July, Trump had 24% of the black vote. Now in the CBS poll, it's only 18%. But I'm telling you right now, if Trump gets 1 in 5 black voters, there is a very, very small chance that he loses Pennsylvania, regardless of whether or not Josh Shapiro ends up on that ticket. You can take that to the bank. 855-839-1210 is the number over on YouTube. YouTube.com/@1210WPHT. This is the Matt Rooney Show. 1 hour done, 1 hour ahead, and then another one after that. 2 more in total. Back with them in a second.
Hi, this is Dom Giordano with a big update on our huge Politics and Pints with Donald Trump Jr. We had to move the date to Thursday, September 12th. We'll talk the election, all things Trump, 2 days after the next scheduled presidential debate. Think about that. Politics and Pints with Donald Trump Jr., now September 12th, Scottish Rite Auditorium in Collingswood. All the ticket details and everything else at 1210WPHT.com. Be there September 12th.
When you need to know, depend on KYW News Radio 103.9 FM.
The Hamas-inspired graffiti on a World War I monument in Burholm is quickly removed as police look for the vandals. Tropical storm Debbie is set to soak the Big Bend area of Florida beginning tomorrow. Whether it moves into our area later is uncertain. Former President Trump backs out of an ABC debate for one on Fox.
Get the latest anytime on KYW News Radio. Now on Crystal Clear 103.9 FM.
You've never needed us more.
Wesley Financial Group is not a law firm.
Hi, I'm Chuck McDowell, the timeshare cancellation guy and founder of Wesley Financial Group. And I want to set the record straight. I am not an attorney. I've never wanted to be an attorney. And the truth is, I really don't even like attorneys. If I sound like an attorney or if I look like an attorney, I'll apologize. But what I've learned in my 15 years in the timeshare cancellation business is you don't need to be an attorney to get folks out of their timeshare. At Wesley, we've helped over 40,000 families cancel their timeshare without me being an attorney. And I want to share with you how we do it. Just give my office a call, and you will not talk to an attorney. And I guarantee if we take you as a client, we'll get you out of your timeshare, or you'll pay nothing.
Call now for your free timeshare exit info kit. 800-656-1551. That's 800-656-1551. 800-656-1551.
Today is just a starting line. For the true self blooms only when we find our purpose, what makes us tick below the surface. Why is the before-work hustle an after-school home, a section of my block, a corner to call my own? With my why, I stand strong, seen and supported all along. It's a million faces in a mirror, and everyone belongs. Find your why. Join today at ymca.org for a better us.
I'm Michael Toscano. 10 million Floridians are under emergency alerts as Tropical Storm Debbie approaches the Gulf Coast. Its effects already being felt, as CBS's Tom Hansen reports.
Tens of thousands of people have already lost power, and more than 1,500 flights have been canceled nationwide. High wind warnings are in effect across the northern part of the state, with gusts expected to reach speeds over 75 miles an hour.
And this is about a 5-foot surge.
The main threat from this storm will be flooding. Storm surges could reach as high as 10 feet.
300 miles to the north, the mayor of Savannah, Georgia, Van Johnson, tells CBS News Debbie's impact there may be, quote, unprecedented and historic. A new CBS News poll shows Vice President Harris with a 1-point lead over former President Donald Trump nationally and tied in the battleground states. CBS's Natalie Brand.
As the former president tries to define his new opponent, stepping up attacks both personally and on policy.
If Harris wins this election, you will quickly have a Kamala economic crash.
The new polling shows Trump still maintains a sizable lead with voters who say they'll be financially better off with him in office, a feeling echoed by supporters at his Georgia rally this weekend.
I don't vote on personality. I vote for policy. And I vote based upon how it affects my wallet.
Israel says it is preparing for a possible attack from Iran as soon as tomorrow. This as protesters in Tel Aviv accuse the prime minister of choosing escalation over a hostage deal.
They accuse their prime minister of choosing escalation over a hostage deal. But Netanyahu remains defiant and says former Israeli diplomat Alon Pincus increasingly at odds with the U.S.
He's gone completely rogue, meaning untethered from reality, intent on igniting a regional war, defying the military, defying President Biden.
CBS's Deborah Patta reporting from Jerusalem. A U.S. sprinter takes gold in Paris.
Noah Lyles claims the title of fastest man in the world as he won the 100-meter dash at the Summer Games, the first American man to top the podium in 20 years. He hopes to become one of a very select group of athletes to win both the 100 and 200 meters after doing so at last year's World Championships. The last time an American accomplished that at the Olympics was Carl Lewis in 1984. The first round of the men's 200 is tomorrow. Wendy Gillette, CBS News, Paris.
The U.S. leads the medal count with 71 overall and 1 gold. This is CBS News.
Sponsored by Progressive Insurance. Looking for a career path with flexibility, great pay, and benefits? Go to progressive.com/careers and apply online today.
WPHT, WPHT-HD, WOGL HD3 Philadelphia. From the Cherry Hill Volvo Studios, where relationships matter. Always live on the free Odyssey app. Live and local with Matt Rooney. On Talk Radio 1210, WPHT.
You asked me if I watched the Olympics.
I did.
This is why I don't really watch much sports at all anymore, to be completely honest with you. Which I always am honest with you.
Yes.
If nothing else. Welcome back, old friends, new frenemies, all who lie elsewhere in between on the spectrum that is life. I am Matt Rooney. This is the Matt Rooney Show. Coming at you 7 to 10 p.m. Eastern Standard every Sunday evening. Summing up the week that has gone by to prepare you for the week that lies ahead. No one does better than we do. 855-839-1210 is the number over on YouTube, youtube.com/@1210WPHT. A little bit of a stutter start in the first hour. We didn't have the YouTube up right away. It happens. It froze. Whatever. It's, like everything else in Philadelphia. It doesn't work that well. And then I couldn't see the comments until this hour. I don't know what was going on. I think it had something to do with the Safari browser I was using. I've now switched to Chrome, and I can see all your lovely comments. So it's wonderful because all the friends are there. It's great to see you back here for another edition of the program. Hello, Suze. Loves Jeffy. Margaret's there. Mangle Mush is there. People complimenting my shirt tonight. Sue says, Matt always wears a fun shirt. I do. Because you gotta make your own fun in life, Andrew. That's really what it boils down to.
Yeah.
Suze corrects me because I'm very good on this program with keeping my facts straight. But look, every now and then when you talk 3 hours on the radio and then countless additional hours either yelling at my children or practicing law, I'm going to mangle a syllable, right? I'm much better than Kamala Harris and Joe Biden, right? I get 1 or 2 a week. They get 1 or 2 a sentence. I said Byron Daniels, I think, instead of Byron Daniels for the great congressman from Florida. So my apologies to him. I doubt he's listening anyway, so I'm sure he's not offended. But
he could be.
I guess he could be.
He has been on the station before.
I don't know why I said Daniels. I mean, again, Daniels, Donald's pretty close together. So there you have it. So mea culpa, mea maxima culpa for my fellow Catholics. I feel bad about that. Feel free to head over there. Again, youtube.com/@1210WPHT. If you want to opine. Why do I not watch the Olympics? I'm just tired of the virtue signaling from ingrate athletes. And I would love to be able to do what so many Americans can do, which is just suspend your disdain for the ingratitude and just enjoy the sport. But I have increasing trouble doing it. It's turned me into a casual Eagles fan, even though I was a diehard Eagles fan for most of my life. The minute they started some of their nonsense a few years ago with the national anthem, that was it for me. I never really recovered. Baseball, there's been less of that. But it's destroyed the NFL. And I was one of those guys, Andrew, that I had 3 fantasy leagues going at any given time.
Yeah.
It was my favorite time of year for a bunch of reasons, including the fact that I just loved football. It killed it for me. The Olympics is the same thing. And it's embodied by Simone Biles, who, talk about a young lady that has an opportunity to bring everybody together, right? Mm. Every Olympics tends to have that one American athlete that everyone rallies around, right? Because they go out there and they win a bunch of golds, and they epitomize this country's predilection for success, right? We work hard, we achieve, we are proud to make it all the way to the top.
Yeah.
Our system and our values allies for that. Phelps.
Michael Phelps was that guy for a while.
Yes, Phelps is that guy for a while. Every Olympics has one. This could have been hers. But then this precious little dolt goes ahead and takes a picture of herself with her gold medal, and says that she loves her black job. She retweets somebody that puts up a picture on X of her holding up the medal, says, "I love my black job." This is a reference to a Democrat attack on Donald Trump, who says he is going to improve economic conditions for all Americans, including black Americans, by improving and increasing black jobs. Now, everyone that is not a total moron or a bad faith actor understands what he's saying. Our economy's probably slipping into recession. We're going to talk about E.J. Antoni. We're going to talk with E.J. Antoni in a little bit from the Heritage Foundation, their resident economist, about what's going on out there. Black Americans are being left behind. They very often get left behind by Washington's policies. They're used and abused by politicians who never deliver for black America. If you don't believe me, take a walking tour of the city that I'm broadcasting from tonight, Philadelphia, and tell me what Democrat rule has done for black Americans in Philly. Not too much, other than subject them to a drug-ridden, overpriced shooting gallery day in and day out, from which young Americans who grow up in this city, they have very little chance of escape. But Simone Biles, who, look, I mean, I get that she's been through some rough things in her life. I'm sure some of you listening to this show tonight have been through some real garbage in your past. The story of Simone Biles should be like many Americans that face adversity. She overcame it, and now she is exceeding at the highest level. That's what America is. America is a place where, regardless of what you look like, what you sound like, how you pray, doesn't matter what you've been through, you come here and you grow up here and you find your way to your dream if you're willing to work for it. And the process of becoming includes overcoming that adversity. She could be the poster child for that. Instead, she's got to take a cheap shot at Donald Trump, and in so doing, take what could have been a unifying moment for this country, and she could have achieved true superstardom. Now she's just going to be another partisan figure that half the country can't stand, and she, has the effect she does on someone like me that says, you know what, rather than watch a bunch of young Americans, many of whom do not appreciate what this country's given to them, I'd rather do something else with my time. I don't know, watch the grass grow. Rewatch The Sopranos for the 50th time, right? I got plenty of other things that I would have more fun doing than watch people go overseas, and despite the fact that they should be representing our country, they don't even understand or appreciate what's so wonderful about the United States of America. So no, Andrew, I'm not really watching the Olympics this year.
That was a really long answer.
I'm sorry.
That's fine.
I mean, was it at least coherent?
Yes. It made a lot of sense.
All right. Well, as long as it makes sense.
I think for me, it's I don't have a problem watching the Olympics. The opening ceremony, that's a different discussion for another time. We don't have to get into that. I think for me,
are you referring to the tranny Last Supper freak show, whatever it was?
Whatever that was.
Whatever that was. I don't think
whatever that was.
The English language does not have an adequate way to describe.
That's why it was in France.
Yeah,
and the French did it anyway. I don't mind watching the Olympics, and especially now that I have kids, I get to share in something that I loved as a kid.
Yeah.
The first Olympics I watched was the 2002 Olympics in Salt Lake City. The NHL participated in that Olympics, so like Hall of Fame NHL talent was in that tournament and everything. Mm-hmm. I remember watching the 2004 Olympics when it was in Greece, and how cool that was because it's the original country, blah blah blah.
Sure.
And that's something that I want to be able to pass down with my kids and have the time to watch it with them on TV and celebrate and cheer on America. And for the most part, we were talking during the break, supporting athletes specifically like Katie Ledecky, who is the most decorated women Olympian of all time, right behind Michael Phelps, who we also mentioned.
Yep.
For the longest time, I was a big Shaun White guy. The snowboarder, won gold medals in the Olympics plenty of times.
And look, Andrew, I appreciate the fact that I'm painting with a broad brush here.
Yeah.
Right? I'm just giving you my honest emotional reaction.
No, yeah.
That there are probably plenty of lovely young men and women.
Yeah.
In this Olympics Games representing this country who deserve our support.
Mm-hmm.
But the fact of the matter is the media promotes those that do not represent the best of this country.
That's what I was getting to.
And it spoils it for people like me. And maybe I shouldn't let it, but it's how I feel.
Well, it's one of the things that I was annoyed with is when they announced who was carrying the American flag on a boat, which I thought was a little weird. If you did watch the opening ceremony, that was
I saw
the athletes in the countries they came down the river on a boat.
Yes.
What is the point of that? It's supposed to be the parade of nations. Everybody's entering the stadium and everybody stands together and they get to camaraderie and all that stuff. What in the world was that?
When I was channel surfing and I had it on briefly, I thought it was a weird commercial for Viking Cruises. They're doing some kind of special promotion where you can take a Viking cruise with LeBron James.
Well, and so you mentioned LeBron James. I don't think LeBron James should have carried the American flag.
No, I mean, first of all,
he hates America.
He hates America, and let's also talk about this. Ruined Space Jam.
Oh, God, that's another thing we got to talk about.
I had to have my hand on the dump button when I threw that one out there because I was unsure. I knew that was going to bring out an emotional reaction in you.
Well, it's like during the COVID the COVID playoffs, the bubble, he was so emphatic, talking every single opportunity he had to trash on America and to dump on America and say how racist it was and how terrible of a country it is. Meanwhile, he's made, I don't know, hundreds of millions of dollars playing a game that in other countries he might not necessarily have the same opportunities if he wasn't in America.
Yeah, well, again,
and it makes me it's infuriating. Like, and again, it has to do with the the woke culture. Those people are the ones making the decision. So obviously, LeBron James is. I'm using air quotes for those of you who can't. Well, Matt's the only one who can see me, but the GOAT of the greatest of all time basketball. Blah blah blah. Why wouldn't he be? He's won the Olympic. He's played in the Olympics before.
And Simone, in this picture that I was referencing with her with her gold medal, is holding up. It looks like she has a little goat necklace.
Yeah.
Greatest of all time.
I mean...
Well, I've got news for you, my dear. The reason you are the greatest of all time is because you were trained and grew up in and have had the benefits of the greatest nation of all time. It didn't happen in a bubble. And despite the fact that the culture would say otherwise, you've had more privilege in your life despite your genuine, true challenges you've had to overcome. And they've been real. You've had more privileges than almost any other human being that's ever existed, that's existed in any other time, anywhere, has ever experienced. The Simone Biles and her ability to overcome what she's had, that doesn't happen in, pick a country somewhere else in the world, right? Most of Asia, most of Africa, most of South America, those opportunities don't exist unless your country takes you from the cradle at a very young age, right?
Yeah.
And programs you to be an athlete for the purposes of the state. Or I guess you could be an Algerian. You're born with certain chromosomes, and then you're put into female boxing, where you can beat up female boxers and win gold.
That's one way to do it, I guess.
Look, rightly so, obviously, but if you talk to a feminist about domestic violence, they'll be justifiably horrified, right? The idea of a man beating on a woman, trying to control a woman, trying to terrorize a woman. But it's okay for a man to beat up a woman if it's in the Olympics. The logical disconnect with these people just continues to torture my brain, even though I know that logic has nothing to do with it. There's nothing to do with it. So yeah, I can't do the Olympics anymore. I can't do most sports anymore. And this is why the country is becoming more divided, because everything that we have, every opportunity we have to achieve some type of non-political unity, some kind of escapism, they are politicizing. They are turning into a partisan event. And the left is to blame. The left is to blame. It's not me doing it. It's not Donald Trump doing it. They've been doing it. It's a project they've been working on for decades. 855-839-1210 is the number here on the Matt Rooney Show. Again, over on YouTube, youtube.com/@1210WPHT, where you can check me out. You can tell me whether or not you like this week's Fun Guy shirt with, I guess it's a lemon plant. Lemon tree.
I think they grow on trees.
They grow on trees, overlaid on a field of pink.
Pink lemonade.
Pink lemonade. I love pink lemonade.
It's good.
Love me some pink lemonade. We hope you like the Matt Rooney Show, too, whether you're imbibing and enjoying pink lemonade or any other beverage of your choice. Just don't be like the guy that called in last week drunk. Remember that? That was a lot of fun. People have too much fun with the Matt Rooney Show. That's a problem. Again, 855-839-1210. Quick break. Back with more of our number 2 in a moment.
Stephanie from Emmons. Are you not loving your bathroom? Is the King's Throne looking a little outdated and run down? Let Emmons Design Specialists design a bathroom that you will love and one that Emmons will redo in as little as 1 day. An affordable, maintenance-free bathroom with little to no inconvenience to you and your family. With finance options available, there's really only one problem. Your bathroom will be so nice, your king may never want to come out. Call Emmons today at 856-885-6677 or visit us on our website at callemmons.com.
We all hear the radio ads about the IRS. They tell you to be afraid, to be scared, and they try to frighten you into calling. I'm not here to do that. Tax Relief Advocates is different. TRA is here to tell you that if you owe money to the IRS, whether it's $5,000, $50,000, or $500,000, we have a solution. It doesn't matter if you're sitting in your car, at work, or with your kids. No matter where you are, call now. 800-575-6481. Don't lose hope. TRA can eliminate or reduce what you owe to the IRS. Generous programs are now available that can give you a fresh start. Our passion is taxes and helping individuals fix their IRS problems. We have over 1,000 5-star reviews on Google and an A+ with the Better Business Bureau. You don't need to be afraid of the IRS any longer. End your tax nightmare today by visiting us online at TRA.com or call 800-575-6481. That's 800-575-6481. Tax Relief Advocates. Real solutions for real people.
Hey, fantasy football owners. The road to winning your fantasy football championship starts now. I'm Matt Harmon from Reception Perception. Join me and James Coe as we take a deep dive into the position that's going to make or break your fantasy roster. Wide receivers. We analyze route running, target share, and all the metrics that matter, giving you the insights you need to draft the best wide receivers. As you prep for your draft, let us give you the coverage you need. Follow and listen to Reception Perception on the free Odyssey app or wherever you get your podcasts.
Kale and Company weekday mornings 6 till 10.
On this day in 81, MTV actually launched with the very first video being Video Killed the Radio Star by the Buggles.
Good one out of Philip there.
That's a great job.
About that, working in the little Buggles. And I would also say this, and only 5 people will get this. Video didn't kill the radio star, the brand managers did. I'm joking.
All right.
That was the first video played on MTV.
How about that? There you go.
12:01 on August 1st, 1981.
Boom.
Start your day with Kale and Company. Weekday mornings 6 till 10 on Talk Radio 1210, WPHT, and the free Odyssey app.
Don't miss the Labor and Energy Show with J-Doc and Krause, brought to you by Advocacy United, this Saturday night at 6. Find out about the important issues that'll affect you. The Labor and Energy Show, Saturday night at 6 on Talk Radio 1210, WPHT.
Tired of hearing scary ads about the IRS? Tax Relief Advocates is different. TRA is here to tell you that if you owe money to the IRS, whether it's $5,000, $50,000, or $500,000, we have a solution. We may be able to significantly reduce and even eliminate what you owe to the IRS. Taxpayers should know. Huge savings are now being made available through the Fresh Start program that can drastically reduce the amount you will owe if you qualify. Even if you haven't filed your taxes in years or are facing wage garnishment, liens, levies, or under audit, we can help. We've earned over 1,000 5-star reviews on Google and an A+ with the Better Business Bureau. You don't need to be afraid of the IRS any longer. End your tax nightmare today. To see what savings you may qualify for, visit us online at TRA.com or call us at 800-511-0379. 800-511-0379. Again, that's 800-511-0379. Tax Relief Advocates. Real solutions for real people.
Feel like everything's clouded by doubt? Visit CaliforniaPsychics.com. Our psychics are available to talk 24/7, and we guarantee if it's not life-changing, it's free. Experience the joy of certainty. California Psychics.
I learned it from my adoptive mom. Hold my hand.
You hold my hand. Learn about adopting a teen from foster care at adoptuskids.org. You can't imagine the reward. Brought to you by Adopt US Kids, the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services, and the Ad Council.
Free speech lives here. With Don Giordano weekdays noon till 3. Talk Radio 1210. WPHT.
on the Matt Rooney Show. 855-839-1210. Got a good cut for you here. I got a few here that I've been wanting to play this evening, and I never get to all of them. I make poor Andrew cut them.
My fault.
No, your fault. Your fault. What?
I forgot. Yeah, you wanted to play it coming out.
You were faultless.
Yeah.
Worry not.
I have it ready though.
This is a senator from California, LaFonza Butler. Okay, I forget sometimes that she's a thing because California, the way it votes in 2024, it might as well be a different country from where the rest of us are because they occupy a different reality out there on the left coast. Even though we were primarily preoccupied with Donald Trump's panel discussion from a week ago on CNN, I got to give it to Dana Bash. She asked a real question of this U.S. Senator of Kamala Harris's home state and said, listen, she supports all this wacky stuff. Now she's trying to backtrack. How do you explain that? Listen to Senator Butler's answer.
In the 2020 primary, the vice president praised the defund the police movement, and now she says she doesn't support defunding the police. She called for decriminalizing crossing the border illegally. Now she supports President Biden's policies for clamping down at the border. She supported Medicare for all at one point, eliminating private insurance, and her campaign says she doesn't support that now. She's reversed herself on a fracking ban. What do you think that voters should think when she's reversed herself on several issues just in the last 4 years?
I think that voters should think that she's a human being who learns new things every single day and has the ability to take the time and effort to hear the concerns of all people. I think that they should be certain that she is a fighter and a leader who's going to do the work on their behalf to ensure that there is an economy that ensures that no one is left behind, that there is a climate, that we're going to continue to address the climate crisis in a way that ensures that there is an earth here for young people and for next generations of leaders. I think that they should.
Listening to anyone from California speak for any longer than 60 seconds kills brain cells. That's science. You can look it up. Did you catch that in there? She's reversed herself on everything. How do you explain that? Well, she's human. She's not human. She's a liar. And that's the point that Donald Trump's been trying to make. I wish he had made it better. But it's inarguable. She has now changed her mind on everything. You're going to continue to see in the coming weeks that Kamala Harris is trying to reinvent herself. And I suspect whoever she picks for her Veep nominee candidate, her running mate, is going to try to assist her in that reinvention. But good luck to, for example, Josh Shapiro, if he ends up being the man 48 hours from now, because some of her positions on Israel, Kamala Harris hates Israel as much as the next Democrat. Fracking, she pledged, we have the audio, we've played it before in this program, she's pledged to end it. How is he going to explain that to Pennsylvania voters? Don't assume that he's automatically going to help her in Pennsylvania. He might find himself defending the indefensible. Don't forget to check us out over on YouTube, youtube.com/@1210WPHT. Make sure you give us a like over there if you haven't already. The Run Z, what's up, Matt? What's up with you? Hope you're having a good evening. Thanks for tuning in. Minnie, Mango Mush, Margaret. Margaret, by the way, says, back to our discussion from the last segment, Andrew, I did not hear what Simone Biles said, but she literally let her teammates down 4 years ago in Tokyo. She said that she had, I think they called it the spins, right? That was the excuse at the time.
Something like that.
Yeah.
She needed a mental health break.
Right, and we were told that she was a hero for withdrawing from the games. And my commentary at the time on this program was, well, it doesn't make her an awful person because they're games. It's in the title. This isn't a war, right? But it also doesn't make you a hero. The entire point of a hero is someone that overcomes something that an ordinary person could not. So almost by definition, Simone Biles was not a hero when she let her team down a few years ago. But now, a different story, right? And she's using this opportunity to take a giant BM on her country. Gotta love it. Let's go to the phones if we have time, because I neglect them for most of the show, and then I look up and I see these people on here, and I have a pang of conscience. Let's see. Mark from Conshohocken. You're on the Matt Rooney Show and 1210 WPHT. Good evening, sir.
How are you, sir?
I'm great. If I was any better, I'd be you, Mark. What's on your mind?
Yeah. Hey, Matt. First of all, little Simone Biles, okay, she just ruined all credibility with me. All right? She just blew it right out of the water. Because as far as I'm concerned, what she said today makes her a race baiter in training.
Oh, I don't know if she's in training. I think she's achieving at a
I think
master
she's fully
level.
graduated.
Yeah, I think she's out. Look, these kids are learning at a very young age how to play the game, and she knew doing what she did would cement her place in the hearts and minds of the media establishment that drives your brand. So she will have access, if she didn't already, to every single money-making opportunity in this country. Now, did she do anything for her country? No, because now she's divided her country, a country that didn't need to be divided any further. But she definitely punched her ticket if that's what you go overseas and play in the Olympics to do.
Right. And I remember when she backed out 4 years ago. So guess what? I agree with you. She's no hero. In fact, as far as I'm concerned, she's a wimp.
Yeah.
She backed out on the world stage. That's horrible.
Or at the very least, right? Like, I'm not. Look, I mean, based on what she said, she's plummeted in my book too. She wasn't very high in that book anyway, because I generally don't put athletes very high in my estimation. I think we over mythologize them sometimes. But all you need to say is look, whether she was a wimp or not, she's not a hero, because again, a hero is someone that overcomes. That's how you become an inspiration. You're someone who faces adversity and says, you know what, it's not going to stop me, and you succeed in spite of it. But in some ways, Mark, she may be a heroine for Gen Z, because Gen Z and Gen Alpha, which is coming up behind them, that's my kids' generation, are being taught that self-care matters more than duty to your country, your community, your family, et cetera, and so on. So in that respect, she is in some ways the perfect archetype of what they think they're supposed to be and how they're supposed to behave. Is it going to produce a better, stronger nation with more, stronger sense of self and able to do all the things we need to do in the world to continue to lead as Americans? Absolutely not. Absolutely not.
No.
It's actually getting me worked up, Andrew. This is why I don't watch the Olympics. Have you been watching the Olympics otherwise, Mark, at least until today?
No.
Yeah, see, I think that's where a lot of people are. I think maybe they watch clips.
Right. And here's another thing, Matt. I will never believe a word that comes out of any Democrat's mouth, ever.
Nor should you. Democrat is Latin for liar.
Right. And I was telling Andrew that I'll be 63 next month, okay? And I only liked two Democrats in my whole entire life. And that was Frank Rizzo, because he put all the criminals in jail, and Bob Casey Sr., because without him, my son would never have health insurance when he was 2 years old.
Well, see,
because that's when he's the one who started CHIPS, and I wasn't making nothing back then, Matt.
Well, you hit the nail on the head, right? Like, it used to be in this country, we would debate how to help lift all boats, and Democrats and Republicans had different solutions. Now the Democrat Party isn't even pretending to care about a family like yours.
Right.
It began with Obama, and it's accelerated in recent years. They are now openly the party of the coastal elite. That's all they care about. That's all. They're not pretending to care about the working class in this country, and that's why this great realignment led by Donald Trump is underway. Mark, I appreciate you calling in to the Matt Rooney Show on 1210 WPHT. I knew I wasn't alone, and I'm not happy about it. I'm not happy about the fact that I can't enjoy the Olympics, because the Olympics is no longer a diversion from everyday life. But don't blame me. I'm not trying to be a wet blanket. Blame the cultural elites that are destroying all of these once great institutions. 855-839-1210 is the number. Quick break, and then back with more Matt Rooney Show in just a few. Don't go anywhere.
Don't miss the Education Show with Dom Giordano every Sunday morning at 5:30. Find out how you can help your child or grandchild succeed. Sponsored by New Hope Academy.
When I grow up, I want to be a new pair of blue jeans.
When I grow up, I want to be a kid's first computer.
When I grow up, I want to be a glass countertop in a new home.
When I grow up, I want to be a kid's best birthday present.
When I grow up, I want to be a football stadium.
When I grow up, I want to be a warm fleece on a cold day.
When I grow up, I want to be a fancy backsplash.
I want to be a bike that races around the country.
When I grow up, I want to be a bench on a forest trail.
I want to be a rocking chair on a sunny porch.
I want to be a skyscraper.
I want to be.
When I grow up, I don't want to be a piece of garbage. And if you recycle me, I won't be.
Give your garbage another life. Recycle. Learn how at iwanttoberecycled.org. A public service advertisement brought to you by Keep America Beautiful and the Ad Council.
I believe in you. Just 4 simple words, but to a child in need, they mean the world. I believe in you means you have potential. You are special. You matter. When you become a child sponsor with Save the Children, you're saying, I believe in you. You are smart. You're capable. You will overcome obstacles that most can't imagine. Your sponsorship says to a child, I believe that you deserve a successful start to life and a solid foundation to build upon. I believe you're worthy of good nutrition, quality healthcare, and the opportunity that education unlocks. Becoming a Save the Children sponsor sends a powerful message of support. It says, I am here for you, to lift you up, to cheer you on, and to celebrate your success. Because when you believe in a child, you empower them to believe in themselves. I believe in you. Just 4 simple words that can bring hope, that can change a life. Visit sponsor.savethechildren.org today and tell a child in need, I believe in you.
Wesley Financial Group is not a law firm.
Are you a victim of the timeshare trap and think there's no way out? I'm Chuck McDowell, founder of Wesley Financial Group, the original timeshare cancellation expert. And I'm here to tell you that there is a way out. All you need to do is give my office a call. I will send you a timeshare exit information kit absolutely free, explaining how the timeshare industry works and your options for cancellation.
Call Wesley now for your free info kit. 800-790-1400. 800-790-1400.
You can host the best backyard barbecue when you find a professional on Angie to make your backyard the best around. Connect with skilled professionals to get all your home projects done well. Inside to outside, repairs to renovations. Get started on the Angie app or visit Angie.com today. You can do this when you Angie that.
Calling on Blackwood to follow 1210 WPHT on the free Odyssey app. Download it now.
I was mulling over what we were talking about over the break, Andrew, and one of the defining characteristics of this age that we're living through, and it's one of the things that makes me worried for my kids, we are growing up in a time without heroes.
That's a scary thought.
I turned 40 this year.
You're a
little bit younger than I am. But I'm old enough to remember that when I was a kid, there were still giants of industry and sport and culture that people looked up to in this country.
Yep.
And they don't exist now.
Not so much.
Yeah, they're not there. So if you're a young person, who do you look to?
I think it's hard, like, because back in the day, like when I was a kid, it was easy. Like, I really didn't care about music as much, like following certain artists or following certain genres of music and such, but I knew who people were, and I was attuned to different things.
Yeah.
And different artists and stuff. I wasn't into basketball as much when I was a kid as I am now, but I knew who Allen Iverson was when the Sixers went to the finals in 2001. I was a Sixers fan. Yeah. I loved watching that. The Sixers making it all the way to the finals and stuff. That was great. I feel like unless and again, it's like one of those woke things. Everybody stays in their lane now. Nobody wants to branch out and try something new. Nobody wants to branch out and get interested in something else other than what either they were raised with or whatever society or culture tells them to do. Like I could tell you.
I was waiting for you to tell me that Allen Iverson was your earliest role model. It would explain a lot.
Really?
Yes.
You think so?
I think so.
Okay. But it's like I grew up watching, but like my favorite baseball player was Derek Jeter, and like everybody back in the day knew who Derek Jeter was.
Yeah.
And I did a part-time teaching gig at a school in New Jersey, in Burlington. And, you know, towards the end of the school year, time's winding down, we're just having fun and different things like that. So we were just talking about the difference in age culture, even though I'm not that much older than the kids that are in high school.
Right.
We were talking and joking around, and I was really heartbroken. Nobody could tell me who Derek Jeter is.
The commonalities that used to tie us together are all fading.
They're gone.
And it's all the stuff we already discussed. It's also the ability with the internet to get into a niche subculture and not escape from it, where you only focus on the things that you're interested in.
Yeah.
Which I think is part of the point you're making.
Mm-hmm.
855-839-1210 is the number over on YouTube, youtube.com/@1210WPHT, where Sue says, I'm a baby. You're a baby, Matt. At my age. I don't think she's referring to my maturity level, although she might be as well. It's all relative, right? I definitely don't feel super young as I approach 40 and have two kids that don't let me sleep, but younger than some, right? My optimism for this country is always youthful. I will say that. But I'll tell you what may not be very healthy right now, the U.S. economy. On Friday, I read that there are 2 common recession indicators that have very good track records, actually perfect track records, according to Business Insider, that are now pointing towards an economic downturn. Is the economy heading into a recession, or is it already in a recession as we prepare for the most consequential presidential election of our lifetime? And by the way, you know, economics, it's interwoven into the debate that we're having right now as America gets to decide between Kamala Harris and Donald Trump. But the economic dimensions of 2024, I still think, are taking a back burner to some other issues. They may be getting short shrift, Andrew. They may not be getting the attention they deserve. So let's turn to one of our favorite economists here at 1210 WPHT. He is a research fellow, public finance economist at the Grover M. Herman Center for the Federal Budget at the Heritage Foundation, the institution that one of its great fames to claim is that I was an intern there back in 2005. But unlike intern Matt Rooney, E.J. Antoni has stayed at Heritage Foundation and become a titan of his field, one of the people that Rich Zeoli and many others, including over at Fox News and Fox Business and the Wall Street Journal, yada, 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 turn to make sense of this stuff. And we're happy that he joins us tonight on the Matt Rooney Show, 1210 WPHT. EJ, welcome back to the program and the station. Thanks for joining us.
No, my pleasure. Thank you for having me back.
Demystify some of this for those of us that had useless liberal arts degrees, unlike you who actually understands consequential things. We know that we didn't get a good jobs report for July. Unemployment ticked up, and now we have these 2 indicators which allegedly have very good track records that are telling us we're in a recession or we're headed towards a recession. There's something called the SAM rule that they're talking about on TV that I've never learned about because, again, in college, we don't really teach anyone anything that matters anymore. Can you tell us what's going on?
Certainly. Well, in regards to that specific recession indicator that you just mentioned, essentially what it does is it looks at changes in the unemployment rate over time. And what we've seen recently is that rate obviously ticking up. Now, part of that is simply because we had that hurricane blow through Texas last month, and that resulted in a lot of additional unemployment claims that normally would not have been there. So I'm not so concerned about that in terms of a structural signal of what's wrong with the economy. But as we dive into the jobs report, we find a lot of other really big red flags, not the least of which is the fact that the economy continues hemorrhaging full-time jobs. So we're basically losing full-time jobs and just replacing them with part-time work. The problem is that both of those get counted as a job in the report. And so what looks like an increase in jobs, it turns out is really just simply people losing their job and then having to replace that full-time work with multiple part-time jobs. So not a good sign at all.
Americans working harder for less money, having to spread it out over the course of more than one job, as you say, getting to spend less time with their families. It doesn't sound like a recipe for economic success as we head into the fall. I mean, I know that these things are nebulous, so there's different definitions. At what point can we say that we are in recession, or are we arguably in one already?
Well, it's a great question. You know, in the first half of 2022, we actually saw the economy shrink for 6 months in a row. And despite the fact that that's normally what we would characterize as a recession, they changed the definition for political convenience. So what is a recession anymore? Your guess is as good as mine. But I think regardless of whatever we want to say is the official definition, I think at this point the American people understand what it is. It's when their own quality of life diminishes. It's when their own cost of living increases faster than their incomes. It's when they're forced to cut back because the hidden tax of inflation is taking so much out of their paychecks. And so by that definition, a lot of Americans have been essentially sitting in recession for a couple of years now.
It's a very fair point, and it probably is what we should look at going forward because, I mean, look, I look at my own family. We're doing better in terms of what we're bringing in than we were 2-3 years ago, but my standard of life has definitely taken a step back, and it's because the price of everything is exponentially higher. I mean, we just filled my wife's mom boat to drive up to New Hampshire over the weekend, one of these SUVs, which I bought because I'm trying to do my part and put a bigger hole in the ozone layer. I mean, what it costs to just drive those 5 hours to New Hampshire in that car this weekend. You can understand why people are taking less vacations. And some of the stats you shared from the July jobs report and the latest data over on X, EJ. And by the way, it's real EJ Antoni. That's his handle on X. It looks like factory orders are in trouble as well. And there's some other indicators which the media is not really paying attention to, which are troubling?
That's exactly right. We're seeing factory orders absolutely plummet. And this is really troubling because it's an indicator of future economic activity. In other words, an order is placed with the factory today, they fulfill it tomorrow, and then the day after the customer gets it. Obviously, that's not quite the timeline, but you get the idea of order of operations there. So we're seeing that just drop like a rock. We're seeing wholesale sales and retail sales also come down. And one of the really important things that people have to remember is when they're reading these reports, they're not adjusted for prices. In other words, if inflation is happening and the price of everything is going up, it makes it look as if there are more things in a retailer's inventory, for example. But that's not the case. It's just simply that the same things are being priced higher. And so once you account for not only the decline in stuff that's actually in the inventories, but then you account for the increase in prices as well, you realize that we're in much worse shape than we previously thought.
It's a tinderbox just waiting to go up. I mean, that's my amateur read of your analysis that you've shared over on your X page. And something that is particularly troubling, you shared with me earlier today when we were talking about you coming on air. Over the last year, and I'm quoting you over on X, native-born Americans have lost 1.2 million jobs, while foreign-born employment has increased 1.3 million. And you make the point that we're just swapping out American workers at this point. I mean, I laid it out there, but can you explain what's happening?
Well, I think this is one of the key reasons why you can have such good job numbers, apparently, and yet you can have such widespread disapproval among the electorate on the economy. It's because the people who are voting in November are not the ones who are getting the jobs. Americans have actually been losing jobs, and it's been foreign-born workers that have been getting all of the new jobs. In fact, if we compare the numbers from the July jobs report to pre-pandemic numbers, what do we find? We find that native-born Americans actually have fewer jobs today than they did 5 years ago. That's not an exaggeration. There are fewer Americans with jobs right now than there were before the pandemic. So literally all of the net job growth that we have seen over the last 5 years has gone to foreign-born workers. Now, that's problematic for a couple of reasons, but again, I think it really helps to square the circle as to how we can keep having so many jobs created, and yet Americans feel so down about this economy. They're not the ones getting the jobs.
Now, the left loves to believe, EJ, and I know you know this better than anyone because this is what you guys do over at Heritage. You keep an eye on big government. The left loves to act like government can solve all of our problems until it's not going well, and then they love to tell us, oh, wait, we have nothing to do with this. This is just natural market forces. And I've heard that argument from my lefty friends in recent days. Well, yeah, the economy has some warning signs flashing out there, but what does that have to do with Joe Biden and Kamala Harris? Now, you mentioned earlier they're manipulating jobs data, how it's reported to us. What else has this administration done to exacerbate the tinderbox that you're describing for us tonight on the program?
Well, the biggest thing has just been all of the government spending. We're talking trillions upon trillions of dollars worth. Something that's really amazing is that the economy has actually grown pretty considerably over the last several years, so that if all the Biden administration had done was nothing, in other words, just let all of the one-time emergency COVID spending expire like it was supposed to in 2021, if they had done nothing thereafter, not added any new spending, the budget would almost be balanced today, if you can believe it. Instead, we're running a $2 trillion annual deficit. So that gives you an idea of just how much additional spending they have added year after year. But the government obviously didn't have that money. That's why they had to borrow it. That's why we have a deficit. Where are they going to borrow $2 trillion a year? The market can't supply that much cash, and so they turn to the Federal Reserve. The Federal Reserve literally just created the money for the Treasury to spend. And so it has been the spending, borrowing, and the creation of money that has created these economic doldrums, that has caused 40-year high inflation, that has frozen over the housing market, you name it. It's amazing how many of our economic ills today all trace back to this unprecedented level of government spending.
It makes you wonder why anybody would want to be president, right? For a host of reasons, including the fact that come January, I don't know what you do to solve this problem. It's just become so enormous. If you were advising a presidential nominee today, EJ, what would an honest politician, if we can find one, what should they be running on and telling the American people they're going to do to turn this situation around that would actually make a difference? Besides stopping to spend money, right?
Right. The part of the problem with politics today is that everyone's basically playing Santa Claus, and so they're all promising additional goodies for their constituents.
That's right.
And at the end of the day, it's typically whoever promises the most goodies that gets elected. So that's a very hard thing to run against. But let's say you actually do find someone who's honest enough and will run against that. I think the winning formula has to be something along the lines of, I'm going to cut out the waste, fraud, and abuse from the federal budget to reduce spending. I'm also going to deregulate as much as I can, especially within the energy industry. That will help bring prices down. When you reduce the price of energy, that affects prices throughout the entire economy. I think we underestimate just how much energy affects the price of everything we do and everything we buy. And then also the fact that things like natural gas are used for chemical blend stocks. In other words, everything from the plastic in your cell phone, or the plastic coating that's on the paint in your car, or whether it's the polyester fibers in your clothing, et cetera, that is all made from chemicals derived from natural gas. And so if you bring down the price of such a ubiquitous input, what happens? You bring down prices throughout the entire economy. I think that's got to be part of the winning message.
And you would think that'd be a winning message here in Pennsylvania, where it looks like fracking is very much going to be on the ballot this November as we try to figure out what exactly Kamala Harris's position is on the topic. Should be a layup for Donald Trump, but we shall see. We'll find out soon enough. I got to ask you this before we let you go, EJ, and we appreciate you giving us some time tonight. I know that it's impossible to know. when do you get a sense we will know whether or not we are truly in recession? I know definitions change, but is there any point between now and November where the media will have to admit it because it just becomes so obvious?
Unfortunately, we already, I think, crossed that Rubicon in 2022 when it was blatantly obvious. All the data said it was the case, and yet the media swept it under the rug because the Biden administration basically told them to, and that's who they take their marching orders from.
Midterm elections.
So, yep, exactly. So, unfortunately, I don't think any definitive word will come down until sometime in 2025. But that being said, right now, the data I'm seeing points to a recession either has begun in July or it's beginning this month of August. So my guess is when they finally do backdate the recession, that's when they'll say it started.
I think you nailed it, though. I think the honest way to analyze this is what are people feeling? And God knows that Americans are feeling it everywhere, especially here in the Delaware Valley. Folks, if you weren't convinced before, hopefully you're convinced now. There's a reason why we love E.J. Antoni here on 1210 WPHT. He just has the ability to make sense of this stuff. If I had professors like that in school, I would have paid better attention. Remind us where we can find you over online when you're not here on 1210 or elsewhere on the radio.
Best place to find me is going to be on X or Twitter, whatever we call it these days, and the handle there is @RealEJ_Antoni.
E.J. Antoni, economist at the Heritage Foundation. Appreciate you making time for us this evening, my friend.
My pleasure. Thank you for having me again.
That's E.J. Antoni, everyone. I meant what I said too, Andrew, that, part of the problem in this country is that the math and science education that we give to our kids is substandard, and we don't really have great people teaching it.
No, because they're more focused on teaching
Yes.
and pushing other things that they think may be more necessary.
I mean, some people are left-brained, some are right-brained. I was always going to be someone that was obsessed with history. That was always going to be a topic that was going to intrigue me. But I think I would have done even better than I did in school if I had somebody that had made it interesting.
I mean, if you have the right professor, they can make anything interesting. They can make it fun to learn. And, sometimes kids are, right on the edge of, they just need a little extra push or a little extra motivation or a little more hands-on teaching, whatever it is. And, and that would have made the difference. I know there's somebody in my family worked his tail off, got his PhD, worked his way all throughout school, got it all on scholarship because of how hard he worked. But again, we live in a generation, and now, especially the people that are coming up through school, everything they expect it to be handed to them on a silver platter, and I think that's the difference now that we're seeing between the generation that's now versus our generation and the generations that have come before us.
And do you want to know what the end point is? Real quick before we go to a break, cut number 5.
Do I want to know
yes.
what it is?
This is cut number 5. This is Kamala Harris explaining cloud-based technology.
You're now no longer are you necessarily keeping those private files in some file cabinet that's locked in the basement of the house. It's on your laptop, and it's then therefore up here in this cloud that exists above us, right? It's no longer in a physical place.
I don't know why you all dislike her out there in Matt Rooney's show land. I like her because she makes me feel smart.
She makes you laugh.
She definitely makes me laugh because I have to laugh to avoid crying. 855-839-1210 is the number. 2 hours done. 1 hour still lies ahead. Dan Cerrucci joins us, our PR expert, to discuss the latest and greatest in the 2024 election. We're going to talk about Nancy Pelosi, a little bit more economic news, everything we can fit in that we are allowed to fit in here on the Matt Rooney Show, and even some stuff that they don't want us to talk about. You can count on it here at 1210 WPHT. Back in a second.
Talk Radio 1210's Huge Politics and Pints with Donald Trump Jr. is moving to Thursday, September 12th. Join Dom Giordano as he talks to Donald Trump Jr. about all things Trump. Just 2 days after the planned presidential debate. The new date, Thursday, September 12th at Scottish Rite Auditorium in Collingswood. Your tickets include a copy of Letters to Trump by former President Trump. A cash bar will be available. Get your tickets now at 1210WPHT.com. That's 1210WPHT.com.
This summer, excitement starts behind the wheel of an all-electric BMW. Experience the BMW i4, that's confident, quick, and unmistakably BMW. Or feel the thrill of the electric BMW iX with its elevated design and unrelenting performance. This season's excitement starts at the electric BMW Summer Sales Event. BMW, the ultimate electric driving machine.
Visit BMW of Westchester on Route 202 for a personalized test drive today.
When you need to know, depend on KYW News Radio 1039 FM.
The Hamas-inspired graffiti on a World War I monument in Burholm is quickly removed as police look for the vandals. Tropical storm Debbie is set to soak the Big Bend area of Florida beginning tomorrow. Whether it moves into our area later is uncertain. Former President Trump backs out of an ABC debate for one on Fox.
Get the latest anytime on KYW News Radio. Now on Crystal Clear 103.9 FM.
You've never needed us more.
Wesley Financial Group is not a law firm. If you own a timeshare, don't miss this public service announcement from Chuck McDowell, founder of Wesley Financial Group.
If you receive an unsolicited phone call or mail piece to discuss selling, renting, or especially canceling your timeshare, don't fall for it. If you really want out of your timeshare, hang the phone up immediately or throw that mail piece in the trash and contact your timeshare resort or Wesley Financial Group for assistance with your timeshare. As the only Inc. 500 timeshare cancellation company, our knowledge, experience, and results has made Wesley a trusted resource for over 40,000 families we've helped get out of their timeshare. Give us a call, and I'll send you our timeshare exit information kit free with the straight facts about your timeshare and all of your options for cancellation.
Call for your free info kit. 800-513-4444. 800-513-4444. 800-513-4444.
I'm Michael Toscano. It is getting serious now on Florida's northern Gulf Coast with evacuations in 9 counties. Tropical storm Debbie is nearing landfall and getting stronger, as CBS News meteorologist Andrew Kozak tells us.
Debbie intensifying rapidly on this Sunday night. We'll be coming onshore in the Big Bend area of Florida as a Category 1 hurricane. We've got tropical storm watches, warnings, hurricane watches all across Florida, the Panhandle, back toward Georgia and South Carolina.
CBS's Tom Hansen is in Crystal River, Florida.
Debbie is on a collision course with the Florida coast.
This is not necessarily going to be something that just passes and then we don't see any effect. You can continue to see flooding, and you may even see a rebound of the storm.
Tens of thousands of people have already lost power.
CBS's Christian Benavides is in Savannah, Georgia.
It could have catastrophic consequences for certain neighborhoods. The mayor said that this is the first time that they've given out sandbags.
Out west, it's the wildfires, as CBS's Elise Preston reports.
Strike crews at Northern California's Park Fire attacked the flames from the air as ground crews cut down giant trees. Slow the spread of the nation's largest wildfire.
To get just as close as we possibly can to the active edge of the fire and try to stop it where it is.
Nervous homeowners are also protecting their property by using rocks, removing landscaping, and adding sprinklers.
Vice President Harris spent the weekend interviewing potential running mates.
Every car going in and out of the vice president's residence under the microscope as she meets with some of her top running mate contenders. CBS News has confirmed the interviews include Minnesota Governor Tim Walz, Arizona Senator Mark Kelly, and Pennsylvania Governor Josh Shapiro. Voters from that battleground state believe selecting a moderate could help in November.
CBS's Natalie Brand reporting. UK Prime Minister Keir Starmer has condemned rioters who attacked a hotel housing asylum seekers and the police who tried to stop them. He called it far-right thuggery.
We've seen Muslim communities targeted, attacks on mosques, other minority communities singled out, Nazi salutes in the street, attacks on the police, wanton violence alongside racist rhetoric.
Could be a rough day on Wall Street tomorrow. U.S. stock futures fell this evening after a volatile week there over recession fears. Dow futures were off 300 points. Japan's markets dropped as much as 7% in their Monday trading. This is CBS News.
Think O'Reilly Auto Parts for all your car care needs. Get the parts and service you need fast
from the professional parts people at O'Reilly Auto Parts.
WPHT, WPHT-HD, WOGL HD3 Philadelphia. From the Cherry Hill Volvo Studios, where relationships matter. Always live on the free Odyssey app. Live and local with Matt Rooney. On Talk Radio 1210, WPHT.
I'm trying to get an update on this, Andrew, but as of about an hour ago, stupid internet, the deep state's at it again, messing with my internet connection. S&P 500 down 1%, Dow Jones Futures down 0.6%. It's a bloodbath tomorrow morning. We had E.J. Antonio on the Matt Rooney Show last hour talking about the potential for recession. He thinks we are already well on our way to an economic tumult. His words, not his words, my words. The market certainly thinks so. This is not good. And I want to be clear about this before any of the lefties that listen to this program jump down my throat. You know who you are. You don't admit to your friends that you listen to a show like this, but you do anyway. Not just because I'm so darn cute in my festive fun guy shirts that I wear every week, but because I often make a lot of sense. I am not happy about the fact that we are heading into a recession. That's not why we're talking about it this evening. Yes, it's probably bad for the Biden-Harris administration, but hey, listen, I have a 401k like many of you do, right? I would like to retire sometime before I'm 90, right? Like I don't want to see either my family or the people that I know in my life or anybody in this country go through the pain that is associated with an economic downturn, even though we know that even in the best of times under good leadership, these things can be cyclical. This one, you know, as EJ from the Heritage Foundation explained to us earlier in the program tonight, it's being brought about by very unsound policies out of Washington, D.C. They are printing money. They are spending money like it grows on trees. They are running up the national debt, and they are doing everything they possibly can to increase inflation, not actually temper it. And if you think buying a house is hard now, kiddos, if you're listening to this over at Penn State or Temple University or Rowan or any of the colleges in the immediate region of this program's home base market, right? If you think it's hard now, wait until they lower interest rates. Do you think that's going to make it easier to buy a home? No way. It's going to be harder, because you're going to have more people that have been saving that actually can afford to buy a home, but for the interest rates, get off the bench, and then they're going to be on the market as well. Housing prices are actually going to go up. So we may be heading for rough waters, but we will do the best we can here on the Matt Rooney Show to help get you through it. 855-839-1210 is the number over on YouTube, youtube.com/@1210 WPHT, where the conversation is lively as ever. Favorite comment of the night, producer Andrew, is from JC3. Wow, Matt looks nothing like he sounds.
I was going to bring that comment up. What does that mean?
I don't know. Someone else said I'm a handsome devil. I don't know if they're being facetious, but I'll take it.
Sure.
I don't know, but clearly at least some people think I look differently than my voice would imply.
What do they expect you to look like?
I don't know. I'm curious now. So, anybody in the thread, if you think I look differently than I sound, can you tell me who you think I may have looked like just based upon the sound of my voice? I'd be curious to know. I think it matches. But then again, it's my voice, and it's the only one I've ever had.
Right.
So I'm not.
You've never dabbled in voice acting or trying to sound like other characters and such?
I have not. I don't think I would have found a career that could pay a mortgage with voice acting.
I understand.
Yes. I don't know. I mean, do you think I have a good voice for radio? Do you like my voice?
Yeah, no, your voice sounds
great. Do you
great.
like me, Andrew?
You have a great face for radio, I'll tell you that.
Well, that is undeniable. That there's only one medium for me.
Yes.
And it's for the good of everyone. We don't want to scare children.
No, we do not.
We do not. Something I want to make sure we get to this evening, and we're going to have Dan Cerrucci, our pal, former adjunct at Penn State, PR professional, to talk about the latest in the 2024 race, and particularly the Trump campaign's reaction in the wake of that fateful panel led by an ABC journalist last week. I want to talk a little bit about Nancy Pelosi and Joe Biden's exit from the race, because this is, in addition to the ongoing government cover-up in the wake of the assassination attempt on Donald Trump, this is the other big scandal out there that's not getting nearly enough attention. Coups are not something that typically happen in the United States of America, right? One of the earliest coups I can remember learning about, I was young when it happened, so first-person memory was a little bit hazy, but over in the Soviet Union, right, when there was an attempt by a bunch of generals who didn't want to see the Soviet Union dissolve. They attempted to overthrow Mikhail Gorbachev. We just had a coup in this country, a silent coup, but it was a legitimate coup where you had Nancy Pelosi, Barack Obama, and some other very powerful people reportedly pressure Joe Biden out of the race, and in so doing decide amongst themselves that there was not going to be a Biden second term. There would be no second Biden administration, despite the fact that millions of Americans, foolish though they may be, who went to the polls to vote for Joe Biden to be their Democrat Party nominee. So much for democracy, right? So this was a coup, and you wouldn't expect Leslie Stahl over at CBS to be the one that would press the issue. But, some people in the media have been asking some honest questions as of late, and Leslie must have not gotten the memo that now that Kamala Harris is replaced Joe Biden on the ballot, that she's supposed to back off and start towing the company line again. She had Nancy Pelosi on this Sunday, and where to begin with this one? Let's start with the fun part. Nancy Pelosi believes that Joe Biden is deserving of a very unique honor that's only been afforded for American presidents. This is cut number 3. I'm going to give you a warning here. If you're eating something like a hot dog or a grape that has skin on it that could easily choke you, if you hear something surprising or somebody jumps out behind something in an attempt to surprise you, I would quickly finish chewing or spit it out now before consuming the following clip. All right, we'll count like 3, 2, 1.
So he was in a good place to make whatever decision, the top of his game. Such a consequential president of the United States, a Mount Rushmore kind of president of the United States. Want to know what comes next.
That he belongs up there on Mount Rushmore. Lincoln and Joe Biden.
But you got Teddy Roosevelt up there, and he's wonderful. I don't say take him down, but you can add Biden.
Joe Biden on Mount Rushmore. Got to lay off the sauce, Nancy. It's not good before you go on TV. But look, I think what she's doing here is fulfilling her end of the bargain. Because forcing Joe Biden out of the race, there must have been some spoken or implied pact that they would sing this guy's praises to soothe his bruised ego now that he's been forced out of the presidency by this cabal. Leslie Stahl, again, to her credit, pressed Nancy Pelosi during their interview today on that point. Tell me if this answer supplied by Nancy Pelosi makes you any less suspicious that what happened was, in fact, a pressure campaign and a coup.
Please tell us what you told President Biden to persuade him to step aside.
Well, I've never shared any conversations with a president of the United States publicly, no.
It's said that he's furious at you. Is he?
Well, he knows that I love him very much.
I understand that you don't want to own this, but it is so well reported that you were the leader of a pressure campaign.
No, I wasn't a leader of any pressure party. Well, let me say things that I didn't do. I didn't call one person. I did not call one person. I could always say to him, I never called anybody.
I can always say to him that I never called anybody. Yeah, because you had your underlings do it. I still don't believe that answer, by the way. But never at any point, and I say this, Andrew, as someone that's cross-examined people in court, right? Nowhere in that interview explanation that she offers does she ever explicitly deny that she wasn't part of a pressure campaign. She says, well, I wouldn't call it that, and I'm not the one that made the phone call. Her fingerprints are all over this thing. All over this thing. This is not something we do in this country. Elites don't get together in a room and pressure the duly elected leader of this country, such as he is. I don't think Joe Biden should have run for office to begin with in 2020. He should have resigned 2 or 3 years ago, right? Because it's plain as day he's not up to the job, and he's a danger to everyone and probably himself as well. But we still don't pressure duly elected presidents out of office. The dictators that these Democrats are constantly comparing Donald Trump to, they just behaved like them. Do you appreciate the irony? Can you see it? So, look, I'll say this. Kudos to Leslie Stahl. Didn't know that she had it in her to actually ask some honest questions. And I do think, I started out tonight's program by saying you need to be bracing yourselves for a rough August because whoever Kamala announces on Tuesday is going to be held out there as the greatest pick in the history of picks. She's going to have the convention. They're going to be slobbering all over her, okay, for weeks now. They're going to be more infatuated with her than Kamala was with Willie Brown at one point in her career. But there is plenty out there that will eventually come to light for the average American voter they're not going to be able to run away from. And her ridiculous, far left, unworkable, in some cases downright scary positions that are all recorded. All the sound bites are out there. You've heard them on this station elsewhere. That's part of it. But also the fact that, the Harrises kind of are scumbags. They're kind of scummy. And her behavior is very much out there and being discussed out there in the ether. And then what about her husband, the second gentleman? He wants to be the first gentleman. Doug Emhoff. He has repeatedly during the course of her vice presidency said that he wants to make his issue combating toxic masculinity, which you and I are wise to the fact that when they say they don't like toxic masculinity, what they're really saying is we don't like masculinity. We don't like men being men, right? Because manliness is an obstacle to the left accomplishing their goals. Men that feel responsibility to protect their families, their country, their children from the state naturally are an impediment to big government. Men that defend themselves, believe that their home is their castle, and that Uncle Sam or anybody else's uncle, including Big Brother, have any say over how we run our lives, our families, right? So you get why they're against it. But have you seen this guy's track record and some of what's being said about him? It's from The Guardian. You actually have to go to the foreign papers sometimes, particularly the British papers, if you want to get the straight dope on these people. Allegedly, that this guy had an affair, and he's now admitted to it, that ended his first marriage, and it's been reported that a child may have come from it. Okay? The Daily Mail specifically is reporting that he allegedly got his children's nanny pregnant. In the history of oopsie, no, things you don't do, knocking up the nanny is at the top of the list, Andrew. Now, I'm not only saying that as your favorite lawyer, I'm saying that as your favorite family law attorney.
Sounds like good advice to me.
Yes, it's very good advice. Take that to the bank. If you're gonna have an affair and you're gonna get somebody pregnant, don't make it the nanny. Okay? Goodness gracious. So, if true, you want to talk about toxic masculinity, Doug, I know you probably already sit down to go number one, but goodness gracious, man, take a back seat. to somebody that's got a little bit more credibility on this issue. And this is something that's bothered me for the longest time when we have this discussion about toxic masculinity. The Democrat Party is populated by Bill Clintons and, until recently, Harvey Weinsteins and all these Hollywood celebs and the second gentleman, Doug, right, who love to preach about toxic masculinity, but behave in the most toxic possible way in their personal relations. And you say to yourself, well, what do they really mean by toxic masculinity? What are they talking about here? Because what they refer to as toxic masculinity actually sounds like regular masculinity to me. What they're railing against is a caricature. The way they behave is toxic. Real men don't knock up the nanny. Real men don't deflower, degrade, do whatever they did to White House interns that Bill Clinton was accused of, right? Real men treat women with respect. They don't behave like so many of these Democrat men do, who then have the nerve to turn around and lecture the rest of us on how men should behave. And as a man, I was born one, and so I have no choice but to be one. That's how it works. I hate to make some progressives' heads explode out there, right? I resent constantly being lectured by these pigs on the left who wouldn't know how to treat a woman if their life depended on it. I mean, you tell me if you think I'm off base here, Andrew.
Sounds like you're right on the money to me.
Yeah. I mean, are you going to be lectured by a guy who wants to be the first gentleman of the United States on how you or I should behave by a guy that had extramarital affair with this kid's child giver and got her pregnant? I'm not saying that makes the guy evil. People make mistakes.
Yeah.
But that's the kind of mistake that is so egregious and so massive, maybe you should shut up.
I think it's just hard to take those, like, just take people in those kind of situations seriously. At least when it comes to, and again, it's about, like, what you were talking about, like, patterns of behavior, what they're saying, how they're presenting certain information, and the message that they're coming across. Like, it's like the same thing for Kamala Harris. Like, she's talking about all this stuff about how, you know, she's going to continue moving forward with the country, and she's talking about the economy, and she's talking about the clouds, and she's talking about putting storage files in the clouds, and how all that stuff works. It's like, I just don't take her seriously, because she doesn't. Everything that they've done, the Biden administration, with Kamala Harris being there at the forefront for every single thing that they've done, it's been the opposite of what they've been talking about.
Yeah,
and you can't take it seriously.
And this is and this is why it is important to talk about Kamala being a fraud, right? I don't think that the Trump campaign and its surrogates have done the best job of articulating why she's a fraud in the early hours of this new campaign, Trump versus Harris. Freudian slip there, right? But we do need to talk about it, because everything about this woman's story is a lie. Everything she believes is a lie. The people around her are liars, her husband included. And we need to challenge, and this is especially for you ladies out there in the 1210 WPHT audience, between now and November, especially if you're in a battleground state like Pennsylvania, you need to challenge your Democrat-supporting female friends, right? Like, is somebody like Doug Emhoff, the second gentleman, is that someone who we should have in the White House as a role model? How does that comport with your feminist values, your supposed feminist values? For someone that behaves like him to occupy the station that Kamala wants to give him. Again, this is the same party that's trying to take away young ladies' scholarships across the country by letting men compete with them in sports. I have yet to figure out, and I've said it before, I'll say it again, a single pro-woman thing about the Democrat Party other than expanding women's right to kill their young. That's it. We can't go toe-to-toe with the Democrat Party in their willingness and their ability to expand access to abortion, which is infanticide. But give me some other example of how they're better for women and young girls and young women and old women and every other species of actual woman, not the pretend kind. If you can give me one example, I will eat my hat. I'll eat my flip-flop. Right here, live on radio. Be happy to do it. We've got some hot sauce in the kitchen. I'll lather it on up, and I'll consume it right here on YouTube for everybody.
Mix it with a cappuccino.
I will, exactly. I'll wash it down with does the cappuccino machine work?
For now.
For now.
As far as I know, anyway.
As far as you know. Don't jinx it. 855-839-1210. You can tell that I don't need any more caffeine anyway tonight. I've got plenty. Over on YouTube, youtube.com/@1210WPHT. Please give us a like if you have not already. Let's take a quick time out because we are capitalists here on this program. We're going to play some ads, make some cash for the station. And when we return, my main man, Dan Cerrucci, to help us break down the latest developments of election 2024 here on the Matt Rooney Show.
Wesley Financial Group is not a law firm. If you own a timeshare, don't miss this public service announcement from Chuck McDowell, founder of Wesley Financial Group.
If you receive an unsolicited phone call or mail piece to discuss selling, renting, or especially canceling your timeshare, don't fall for it. If you really want out of your timeshare, hang the phone up immediately or throw that mail piece in the trash and contact your timeshare resort or Wesley Financial Group for assistance with your timeshare. As the only Inc. 500 timeshare cancellation company, our knowledge, experience, and results has made Wesley a trusted resource for over 40,000 families we've helped get out of their timeshare. Give us a call, and I'll send you our timeshare exit information kit free with the straight facts about your timeshare and all of your options for cancellation.
Call for your free info kit. 800-513-4444. 800-513-4444. 800-513-4444.
Prescriptions require an online consultation with a healthcare provider who will determine if appropriate. Restrictions apply. See website for details and important safety information. Subscription required. Price varies based on product and subscription plan.
Hey guys, did you know there's a generic form of Viagra that works just the same but is 95% cheaper? And you can get it online at hims.com/joy. Through Hims, you'll get a free medical consultation to determine the ED medication that's best for you. Discreet shipping if prescribed, a 100% online process, and a range of treatment options, including trusted generic alternatives to the name brands, at up to 95% off. ED is personal, and at Hims, so is treating it. Just go to hims.com/joy and get connected to a licensed medical provider online for free, with zero copay, no expensive appointments, and no awkward face-to-face conversations. To start your free online visit, you need to go to this exclusive address, hims.com/joy. That's hims.com/joy for your free online visit. HIMS.com/JOY.
Hey, it's Nick Cale. Join me Wednesday on WPHT's Veteran Spotlight. Every month we shine a spotlight on one outstanding local veteran in partnership with the Travis Manion Foundation, celebrating their remarkable commitment to community service and their exceptional service in the military. This Wednesday, August 7th, we honor Air Force veteran Kathy Christian for her service and contributions to the veteran community. Presented by Window Nation. For all of your window and door needs, visit windownation.com.
40 days to lose up to 40-plus pounds with NJ Diet. It only takes 40 days to lose a contractually guaranteed 20 to 40-plus pounds. NJ Diet uses your hair, saliva, and blood work to personalize supplements that will target your hormonal imbalances so you can lose that weight. Then NJ Diet uses your DNA info to help you keep it off. Call Dr. T, 855-5-NJ-DIET, or go to njdiet.com. 40 days up to 40 pounds, 40 days up to 40 pounds, NJ Diet.
I'm John Morgan of Morgan & Morgan. If you've been injured in a car accident, call America's largest injury law firm. For over 35 years, my mission has been to deliver more for our clients, to deliver more for you. If you or anyone in your family has been injured in a car accident, call us now, as the time to file a claim may be limited. Last year, more clients hired Morgan & Morgan than ever before, protecting America, fighting for you. Morgan & Morgan. Visit forthepeople.com for an office near you.
As a roofer, I'm always on the go, so I need to be able to get things done from anywhere. That's why I partnered with Beacon. With their unique Beacon Pro Plus app, I've got the brands I depend on, like GAF, right at my fingertips 24/7. I rely on Beacon because I never stop building, and neither do they. Now through September 15th, purchase GAF through Beacon Pro Plus and earn up to $1,500. Go to BECN.com or download the Beacon Pro Plus app today. Beacon, always building.
Be sure to follow Talk Radio 1210 WPHT on the free Odyssey app. Download it now.
Coming
Kamala's radical ideas belong in a San Francisco commune filled with far-left freaks, but they do not belong in the White House. They do not belong in the United States of America. This November, Georgia is going to tell Kamala that we will not let her turn America into a communist country. Remember?
That's Donald Trump at the Georgia rally, which you probably saw or heard at least a little bit about. Packed them in there. Definitely more people than Kamala Harris had at that Twerk Fest. That absolutely bizarre performance from, what was it, Megan Thee Stallion? Is that her name?
I have no idea.
Yeah, I don't listen to much music made after like 1995. So I've heard the name before, Thee Stallion. I think it's capitalized. But I couldn't name one song by this individual. But I saw some coverage of the rally for the Democrats, and there was this woman twerking. Look, it tells you all you need to know about their coalition. These liberated women that also celebrate men who treat women like garbage. And yet they want to complain about Donald Trump, admittedly a playboy at one point in his life, right, who had his entire family there devoted to him. All have turned out well. None of Donald Trump's kids or grandkids are druggies or losers.
No.
Not one Hunter Biden in the lot. I mean, doesn't that tell you something about the quality of people we're dealing with? Ooh, he's got mean tweets. But I kind of like the fact that we would have a president whose son isn't a cokehead who sells us out to oligarchs overseas. Just saying. That's just me. That's just one guy. 855-839-1210 is the number over on YouTube. YouTube.com/@1210WPHT, where you can confirm that I indeed look the way I do, even if it's not how you expected I would based on how I sounded. I'm so curious, and a couple people answered, but I haven't gotten a satisfactory explanation. And to be clear, I'm not offended at all. Just it's a weird thing to be on radio when I'm talking to thousands and thousands of people every week, and you're hearing me, and to hear that I sound differently than you might have thought that I looked, that's fascinating to me. So I would just like to know, who did you think I was going to look like? It can be Dom DeLuise. I don't care. Like, I just want to know what you imagined. I'm just curious. Well, let's bring in a guy who, regardless of what he looks like, he is still one of my favorite characters on 1210 WPHT, who we have on all the time to take advantage of his expertise in the world of public relations. He was an adjunct professor at Penn State. These days, when he's not globetrotting all over the world, he is a proprietor of dancerucci.com, where he opines on our culture, on our politics, and anything else that Dan happens to find interesting on any given week. That's what interesting people do. So without further ado, Dan Cerrucci, my dear friend, welcome back to the Matt Rooney Show and 1210 WPHT. How are you this evening?
I'm great, Matt. Thank you for having me. It's always an honor to be with you. And I was not an adjunct professor. I was actually a full-time lecturer.
See, I thought it said adjunct on the website.
No.
Okay. All right. Well,
I was not adjunct. I was a full-time lecturer. And when my kids asked me, what's your title at the university, I said lecturer, and they said, oh, Dad, that's the perfect title for you.
And no one lectures better than you do, in and outside of the classroom.
Yes, they said you've been lecturing us all our lives.
Well, and you also just demonstrated you have more integrity than most people in academia, right? So that already puts you in a rare category, my friend. So, are you traveling at the moment? Are you in New Jersey or are you elsewhere? Because
I'm not traveling at the moment. I am headed for Leesburg, Virginia, where we're going to do a little a tasting tour of the town and visit some wineries, and then next month I'm going to Paris, Lyon, and the French Riviera.
Smart to wait till the Olympics are over.
Yes.
And all the riffraff is out of there.
Absolutely. I don't want anything to do with any of that. When we made our arrangements, I said, make sure I'm like a month after the Olympics end, at least.
To make sure they're all cleared out. Although I speak for Andrew and everybody else in the audience, I would have much rather seen you holding the flag there on the river for the opening ceremonies.
Well, I did parade with the flag when I was a little boy. I was a member of the Boy Scouts, and they let me, in a parade, be the flag bearer. I remember, and our friend Senator Testa would love this, the parade, which was a series of Catholic school Boy Scout troops, was in Vineland, New Jersey. I remember it very well. One of my probably my first visit ever to Vineland.
Excellent, very patriotic spot on the map to be sure, and a good Republican town. We should add. No coincidence
absolutely.
there.
Even then, it was absolutely.
So, Dan, I mean, you follow this election as closely as anyone. You and I are talking about it all the time, as I think many of our listeners are, day in and day out. I don't think I can ever remember an election cycle that every week feels like a completely new contest, at least in terms of how it's being presented. It feels as if it was a year or two ago that someone attempted to take Donald Trump's life. I'm still not sure we know who. Then we had a Republican convention, which was widely viewed as a smash success. Then Democrats did what they've often done in recent history in New Jersey, which is when they realize they have a failing product, they change horses in midstream. And now, we won't know perhaps for a while how real it is, but it seems like Kamala Harris may be getting a bump out of all this manufactured enthusiasm that the media industrial complex is whipping up. But where do you see, first and foremost, the race today as we sit here?
Well, they're calling this bump that she got a sugar high. That's a whole nother thing. But I think what we're seeing now, Matt, is really the ultimate celebritization of the presidency. And we can debate how the presidency became celebritized. Where did this happen? Where did this start? Some people say, well, it goes back to FDR when he so effectively used radio at the time, which was the dominant media of the time, and newspapers, but radio was very powerful. And he also, of course, he was very friendly with and surrounded himself with movie stars and movie people, FDR. And he was glamorized. I mean, people really didn't know of his infirmaries and his disabilities. Then we had JFK, whose father worked in Hollywood and was actually a Hollywood producer. Very few people know this about Joe Kennedy, old Joe Kennedy, who ran around with a great movie starlet Gloria Swanson. But he produced Hollywood movies, and he had all the connections to glamorize his son, who was really a sort of scrawny, not very well person, suffered from Addison's disease.
You could make the argument that Sinatra, who was very close to the Kennedy family, helped JFK win the 1960 election.
Yes, absolutely. And then, of course, Sinatra switched parties like a lot of us did, and was best buds with Ronald Reagan. And so then with Ronald Reagan, and this is like 20 years. With Ronald Reagan, we went and elected a former movie star as president. That was like the ultimate glamorization of the presidency. But what we have now is that was like the ultimate celebritization, because, I mean, Ronald Reagan was already a celebrity. But what we have now is, or what they're attempting to do, is the glamorization of vapidness, the glamorization of emptiness, okay? The glamorization of insipidness, the glamorization of innocuousness. There's nothing there. Like Gertrude Stein said, there's no there when you get there with this woman.
Well, and you wrote a great piece over at dancerucci.com that we cross-posted, as we often do, on SaveJersey.com, my website.
Thank you.
And I one of the things I always appreciate about your titles is, and I try to do the same thing, the thesis is in the headline. We don't bury it. And your title was, "The Big Question Now Is Kamala Harris even real? What did you mean when you said, is Kamala Harris even real?
Well, I went back to Rush Limbaugh, who we all miss so much.
Amen.
And, you know,
don't you often think,
Limbaugh,
I know I just asked you a question, I'm already interrupting you. There are so many times recently, especially with the craziness of the past several weeks, where I think, man, what I wouldn't give for a Rush opening monologue.
Absolutely, absolutely. I would give the world for it. I'm salivating for it, and I'm not going to say it because it's not going to happen. But Rush Limbaugh Rush Limbaugh didn't have a degree in public relations. He didn't need it. But he used to talk about Realville. And what he meant by Realville was the real America, where real people lived and worked and raised kids and raised families and struggled every day. And to him, that was the measure of real, the measure of authenticity. And I said, in Realville, the coin of the realm is authenticity. And we preach this in public relations. If you have a product to sell or a person to present to the public or whatever, a concept, it has to ring true. It has to be authentic. It has to be real. Rush Limbaugh was certainly authentic. And this woman has it doesn't ring true. It's not real. There's no authenticity here. I don't believe that she herself knows what she's really all about. This happens to a lot of people in political life, Matt. They get so caught up in it and so overwhelmed by it and so infatuated with it that they forget who they really are. They may start out very authentic or seemingly authentic, but somewhere along the way, they lose that. It happens to a lot of people who become famous. It's a struggle with people who become famous. Very few of them can retain the realness. You know, John Wayne, he was real. What you see was what you got. The American people believed it and accepted it. Ronald Reagan was real because he was used to celebrity. He was comfortable with it. There's a great story about Ronald Reagan where some woman saw him and was so excited, and she asked for his autograph, and he was with somebody else at the time, and she said, "Oh," and she went on, and then finally she said, "Oh, Mr. Fonda, would you give me your autograph?" And yes, and he signed for her Henry Fonda. And so the guy that was with him said, "Ron, why did you do that?" And you know how he answered? He said, "I know who I am."
Well,
I know who I am.
It's the sign that even though anybody that makes it to the presidency or to the high office, even if it's not the presidency, has an ego, he never became a megalomaniac. He never became a full-blown narcissist. And I think that's what often happens with these guys and gals, Dan. It's what you said. It's also that they get to a point where they convince themselves that they are the good. And by that, I mean they believe that, hey, listen, even if I have to break some rules or tell some lies or do some things that I maybe would have found distasteful in a past life, me winning is what's best for everyone. So I am therefore morally empowered or justified to make that happen. And I think that's how so many of them go astray. And the greats like Reagan, they never really get to that point. So, you're obviously onto something here. We're running against someone who is a chameleon. I think she's whatever she feels she needs to be at any given time. And the Trump campaign, because they're dealing with someone that is a moving target, is having trouble finding their footing. At least that's my sense over the course of the past couple of weeks. We talked earlier in the program, of course, about that panel that Trump participated in. And I want to get at your take. I don't have any problem with what he said, but I don't understand the decision to obsess over it over the course of the past week. How do you interpret this situation as a PR professional?
You mean with the black journalists?
Right. I mean, Trump, of course, says, somebody needs to look into it. Is she black?
Yeah.
Is she Indian? I understand what he was trying to do. He was trying to make the point that she's inauthentic. But, I mean, goodness gracious, we now have Iran announcing they're going to attack Israel. We are on the brink of something dramatic and dangerous and historic and awful before you even get to the recession and everything else that's looming. Should we be focused on that right now?
This was obviously a trial balloon, and somebody else might have done it with a lot more finesse, might have done it a lot more subtly and with more of a velvet glove. Mm-hmm. But Donald Trump, we all know what he's like, and he can raise reasonably justified issues, but does it in a cumbersome and heavy-handed manner that sometimes doesn't work. But what he was really trying to say is what I've been talking about, is that when she needs to be Indian American, she's Indian American. When she needs to be African American, she's African American. When she needs to be Asian American, she's Asian American. When she needs to be just American, she's American. When she needs to be a woman of color, she's a woman of color. It's all these different things. She'll be whoever she has to be when she needs to be it, which is to say she's not authentic, she's not real, she's a phony. That's what he was trying to say. And he was trying to raise that issue, and he was trying to raise it particularly among black people who might feel, hey, wait a minute, she's not one of us. But here's the thing, Matt. If Donald Trump would stick to, not the ABCs, but the EBCs, the economy, the border, and crime. If he would stick to the economy, the border, and crime, he's going to win this thing. On immigration, he leads her. Who could best handle this? On immigration, he leads her 50-43. On the economy, he leads her 52-40. On crime, he leads her 48-43. I don't know how she gets 43 on crime. That's a Wall Street Journal poll. But he's significantly, easily ahead on all of these three issues. All he has to do is keep hitting them home. By the way, these three issues are related. They're related to one another. Obviously, the immigration is related to the crime issue, okay? And the economy is related to both of them because these people are coming in, are taking jobs from everybody else. And when people are in trouble, economically hard-pressed, they may be more likely to commit crime. So all these three issues are related. They go together perfectly. And Matt, it's not smarts that wins elections. It's discipline.
And he's dumping a ton of money into ads in these battleground states, and I think they're pretty smart, and they're discussing the issues that you've laid out for us tonight very well, Dan. But unless Donald Trump, who is capable of getting earned media like nobody else on the planet, unless he is echoing in a disciplined way the stuff that's in his own ads, I'm not sure it's going to make the difference in some of these close states. And it appears that this election may very well once again be decided by a handful of votes spread across 6 or 8 American states. It's scary. It shouldn't be that close, but that's what we're headed for.
You have a lot of young and squeamish voters, or what the uninformed voters or minimally informed voters. Rush Limbaugh had a term for them. I can't exactly remember.
He used to call them low information back before that was a thing.
That's it, low information voters.
Yeah.
They're not attuned to the issues. They're attuned to, Beyonce and Taylor Swift and whatever's coming up on TikTok. And it's really scary because, people like you and I are talking about these bread and butter things, these important things that are the essence of what elections are really, or we can see what they're really all about, but we don't, this doesn't register with these voters. And that's why I think Trump has been pretty savvy in social media and in other ways, like at the convention, having the guy from, Ultimate Fighter, and
Dana
having
White,
Hulk Hogan, and people like that. And that obviously was brought in there to attract the votes of young men, which he's looking to be a big voting bloc, both black and white and Hispanic, young men of all colors, particularly young men with only a high school education.
He's attempting to build a new coalition. He made this a start of it in 2016. COVID completely upended it, right? COVID was a unique circumstance. Right. I think he was on track to get reelected before COVID-19 derailed it. I don't think many people doubt that. He's trying to put the cart back on the tracks in 2024, but he's running out of time. He really is, and he's got to pull it together. What would be your advice to the Trump campaign and Republicans generally in August, Dan, when the media machine is going to focus on this vice presidential pick? They're going to focus on the convention. It's probably going to be hard for them to easily find oxygen for the right message, even if they're going about it in a disciplined way. What would you do?
A lot of people traditionally have said that when the other party's having their convention, let them do their thing and shut the hell up. Okay? I don't completely agree with that, and I don't think that fits Donald Trump. Donald Trump is a rule breaker. That's what he does. He breaks all the rules.
Yep.
So I'm not saying, you put on a full court press and you try to compete with them night for night and glamorized moment for glamorized moment, because she's going to pull out movie stars and pop culture people and every damn thing else for the convention.
There's one report tonight, and I don't know if it's been verified, but she's being accused of paying people to go to the convention, influencers and celebrities. We'll keep everybody on top of that one. But we know for a fact that the Biden administration has used influencers in the past on social media.
Oh yeah. But what I would do during the convention week is I would put a lot of money into social media and reach people at that level and at the grassroots level. So social media is sort of like electronic grassroots level. And so just to combat whatever they're putting out there, because they are going to have a big social media presence as well during convention week. And I wouldn't be quite as worried about television because it's just not as impactful or important as it used to be. But I would be out there on social media with a constant drumbeat. And again, I would be going back to the economy, the border, and crime. So I wouldn't take a nap during that week. But you've got to expect that August is going to be a difficult month for the Republicans.
I think you're right, though, that the Democrat Party doesn't play by the Queensberry rules, so we shouldn't either. There was always this expectation that the party that wasn't having the convention would kind of go quiet for a week and let the other party have their say. That might have made sense in an era where the media wasn't openly and outwardly in the bag for the Democrat Party. But that's the space in which we currently find ourselves. So if we continue to play by their rules, we're going to die by their rules. We're going to be defeated by them. So I'm with you. Yeah. I mean, maybe he has a Chicago rally one night. They'll say it's bad form, but
if he could pull off some kind of stunt in Chicago, and Trump is great for this kind of stuff. I mean, he's just got a wonderful sense for it. And if he could have somebody show up there that would startle them or throw them off, or pull up some kind of stunt in Chicago where, his fingerprints would not be on it.
Him and Elon Musk riding through the city in a Tesla truck fighting crime. I'm being facetious, but he needs to do something to disrupt the narrative, which is what he does best.
Right. But, the days of this, clutch your pearls and clench your teeth and have another martini, country club republicanism, for God's sake, those days are over. And if you're in that group, please shut up and get the hell out of the way. Okay?
I could not agree more with you, my friend. And I forgot to bring this up on the program tonight. I'm glad you said Trump needs to do a little bit more in the social media sphere. I've seen reports that he's spending heavily on television. Harris is spending heavy online. Some of that may have to do with the money disparity up until this point. Also, the demographics of who they're going after, right? Republican voters, it's beginning to change, have traditionally been a little older. But how about this? Over on X, Trump's official campaign handle is the Trump War Room. Kamala Harris has Kamala HQ. Kamala HQ, okay, in the past week, 210 million impressions. Trump War Room, 28 million. Now, this stuff isn't exactly science, right? How that correlates to votes, but part of the magic of Trump up until this point has been his ability to use social media effectively to get around that media wall that they create. He's having trouble with that at the moment, Dan.
Well, the people that he appeals to, working class people, rural people, and people like that, as we already said, young men, we know that they're into like Joe Rogan, and we know that they're into Barstool Sports and stuff like that. But we've got to find the other places that they're going to and reach them through those mechanisms. Don't think they're not on social media. They're on social media. You just have to find where and how and get to them. Some of these people, that shop at Tractor Supply and places like that.
Right. Yeah, exactly. I mean, if you spend, at least $100 a week at Starbucks, and you only shop at Athleta, chances are you're not on the Republican squad at the moment, right? I mean,
right, and you're hanging out at Trader Joe's.
It's right. I mean, as much as I do love Trader Joe's appetizers, I have to say they've got some great apps.
But if you're a regular at Walmart, we got to reach you. We got to reach you.
And there's precious little time. But time spent with Dan Cerrucci is always worthwhile. You can check him out at his handle on X, Dan Cerrucci, over at dancerrucci.com. We share his stuff all the time on Save Jersey, and certainly here on the Matt Rooney Show. My friend, thank you as always for your insight and perspective.
My pleasure. Thank you, Matt.
And another show is now behind us. Time flies when you're having fun. But what'll happen in the next week before the next edition of the Matt Rooney Show? Who the heck knows, man? I've stopped guessing. There's no such thing as a slow weekend anymore in this country, and therefore certainly not here at 1210 WPHT. Thank you to everyone that listened. Thank you to everyone that watched. Thank you to producer Andrew Torres for all of his hard work and unique stylings here in the program. Until next week, compartmentalize those polls, folks. Stay safe. Most of all this week, stay sane and keep fighting. Fight for this greatest nation in God's creation. It's worth it.
For a complete list of Talk Radio 1210 WPHT's contest rules, go to 1210WPHT.com/rules.
Summer, and the living is easy. It'll be super easy with one call to Captain Chucky's.